So, just now remember to click start recording, but basically Truzky is one of the best pro players in the world. He's created a bunch of decks that have shaped the meta. Uh, People might not know who he is, but he's one of the best players in the world and one of the best deck builders in the world. Um, some would argue the most influential one for the past 2 years. Certainly one of like the top 3 influential ones on the meta. Because he's made multiple decks that have shaped the meta. Like when a deck is so good that other decks have to build around it. Yeah. So, like I was saying earlier, Truzky likes swarm decks. So, like, for example, he wants to buff adepts to 5 power because he wants to make witchers viable before masters and our witchers. He wants this deck to be viable. Personally, I don't like this change because I think a 5 power unit with a shield that is then becomes a 3 points a turn engine, right? And it's a transform. Transform is a huge deal because it gets rid of all debuffs. Like you can't poison these. If you lock them, they can, as long as they have 2, they can like play around your locks. Like it can become very, very annoying to deal with. And you can megascope these and, reinforcement them. And of course, you can full test and all sorts of nonsense is possible in NR. You can't scout them, but yeah. So just keep, and he's not like hiding that he's whatever. But anyway, I don't like this. Like, think about it. If you're monsters and they play one of these, how are you supposed to counter it? Like right now, they don't get a lot of play because one joust kills one of these. But that's just joust. Like, remove a shield and do 4 damage is ridiculously OP for a 4 provision card. But it's an elf card, so they've gone away with it for years, and it is what it is. But like, Skellige can't. Skellige has to like use a combo, like ping one and then kill it with like a thing that can remove 5 damage, which is basically it's above the threshold of like if you play, like you have to gutting slash it and ping it. So like if you're a raid deck, you gotta like blood eagle it and into Vabjorn into gutting slash, right? Or you have to have like you have to bleed it, and then the next turn, no, you can't because it will already been transformed. The order will be used, right? So it, like, as monsters, what do you do against a 5 power unit with a shield? You can't toad it, you can't riptide it, you can't cyclops it. What do? That's right, play Yaga. Like, if the only counter to a 4 provision card is Yaga, it's too good. So, like, I don't think making a Witcher archetype viable for NR justifies making a 4 provision card so oppressive that, like, to the point where a lot of factions can't answer it. Like, Nilfgaard can yoink, right? Or lock. But Skellige's options are limited. Monsters' options are basically non-existent. Other than like Heatwave and Doragary. And Aguara. Like, Rain decks, Alchemy can kill it with a decoction. But again, you have to trade a 6 provision card for a 4P. That they can also get one from location, and they can still megascope and reinforcement, like an Adalia. That's just like, does anyone disagree that this is a bad change? Epidemic. Right, like, do we really want like binary answers like Epidemic to be required in every deck? It's so silly. Like, 4 provision cards should not demand an answer. This was a problem with Failed Experiment. Remember when Syndicate, when that patch came out, that like they made Failed Experiment 6 power and like can poison and they for 3 coins, and they had a cooldown of 3, and immediately I was like, this is gonna be a problem, and Legion was like, what do you mean? Well, I'm surprised you think that's a problem. And then for the next 4 fucking patches, that card got nerfed because it was such a fucking problem. Anyway, that's the same thing. I have this. I also don't like the change to Jackal. Yeah, there's no need for this. Like 4 provision cards should not be like, there should be a card. Like if it didn't have a shield, make it 5 feet, fine. But it's too much. It's too much. Oh, I was playing a Lilith's Omen deck, Mastigos. Here we go. Jackal. Again, this is another one of those attempts at trying to make a deck that isn't currently played a lot or a leader that's not meta become meta. But first of all, Jackal is a fine card. Like, it's never going to come down as a 4. You're going to put it on the board when you can trigger the Horde. So it's always going to be a 7. Why does it need 1 more power? It's a 3 for 2 spender. In a regular deck, you can spend twice with it, right? And get it to 10. It gives you a ton of reach if you're if you're Pirate's Cove, because you can leader this. You can go completely uninteractive on red coin with like Pirate's Cove, and then literally just like drop this like leader, spend 9 coins, and then play like a pickpocket and drop this, spend twice, play something that creates like a shady vendor that into a sesame, spend like 4 more times, and suddenly you have 30 points on the board. It's insane. After 2 fees, he plays for 6, which is like, for a spender, that's very good. Like Disciple deploys as 5 plus 1 coin, and is a 2 for 1 spender. That doesn't go tall. This goes tall, but it's infinite. You can spam it, and like it was used as like in a bounty deck as a finish. The card is fine, and I know Truzky thinks the card is fine. This card is even like put in decks, or you play it from Plunder plenty. The real problem is other cards in that archetype. Yeah, me too, Golden Kicker. But we'll see what people do, and then we'll just see what we have to fix. We'll see what the damage is in 13 hours, I guess. Again, you don't do that. Like, Egrin can also be punished, right? This is a reach card. Syndicate is already really good at red coin abuse and really good at reach and being uninteractive. And this just like further, like this, it's unnecessary. So when somebody gives you a solution, you're like, huh? You should try and find out what problem they were trying to solve. The problem he's trying to solve is Pirate's Cove not getting played. There are other ways to fix that wouldn't have such dire consequences as buffing a 4 provision cards are scary to me. 4 provision cards are free. Like, there's no cost to doing this, and so we should be very careful about just giving them power, especially one that you can play 4 of in one game. 2 from hand, 2 from leader, 6 really if you get 2 more from Eventide. Same with this. Is it impactful? Yes, but it's the wrong. Like, will it help Pirate's Cove become viable? Yes, but that doesn't mean it's good. Like, the ends don't justify the means. Do it in a way that doesn't make a card, like, doesn't add so much power. There's so many bad cards in the game. We don't need to make cards that are like almost playable or playable into OP. We shouldn't do that. That's going to cause other problems. Lyrian Scytheman. This is another card that like you're going to play 4 times or 3 times at least in a game. More like 3 times, yeah. And it will play for a lot, but like 1 power on this isn't. This is not a card you ever want to like remove. This is not a spender. It's not an engine. It doesn't multiply the way that these other 2 do. This is perfectly fine. Is it also a Tycloaks buff? Kind of. But even the Tycloaks deck, you don't play this in it currently. And it's not because this is a bad card. It's because Like, Tide Cloak is all around the scenario right now. You can't play Tide Cloak without the scenario, and the scenario requires round 3, long round 3, and it requires that you defend the bleed because you, or bleed yourself because you want to get Flinder's crew. 13 for 4, it's OP. This? Oh. No trolling, please. I'm trying to keep this video short. So only constructive comments, please. You know I can't ignore dumb shit. Anyway. Terrible change. You know what? My Chrome literally just closed itself. What the fuck? I'm still here, right? Okay. I'm gonna like... That's terrible. I don't like this change. This is fine. This is fine. So the reason why I'm okay with, like, yes, this also has a similar impact as what we talked about before. Yes, this is high-tech production values. Deal with it. If any like movie studios want to grab visual effects supervisor, I am currently accepting offers. Okay, so the reason why I'm okay with one but not the other is that, hey, this doesn't have a shield, so you can actually remove it with 4 damage. This would require removing a shield in 5. And I think this kind of needs... This has been more power crept. Like, 1 damage used to mean something, and it literally doesn't anymore. He also wants to buff Treants. So Treants currently, if they're bonded, little oak critters, they currently do like 6 points. Or boot, like, hold on. Let's pull them up. Buffing Treasure Huntress instead of Tide Cloaks. Treasure Huntress is another card that, like, if you can't answer it, it like kind of becomes insane. So, like, I wouldn't want to make it harder to kill. Is the issue, right? This it's already... I mean, it already gives you 3 profit, and Horde 9 is like Horde 7 and this card was like better before, and they nerfed it because it was too oppressive. I think like a Magpie buff is probably... Like, this is actually really good in Tide Cloaks too. People don't realize it. And it's a pirate. You could also buff this thing if you want to buff Tide Cloak. Like, this could easily be 6 power or 7 power. Like, I mean, you know, like, there's a lot of pirates in Syndicate. See how many? Like, there's 18 pirates in Syndicate. It's just the ones that get the most votes. There's no sophistication to it. Okay. So we were going to talk about oak critters. These guys currently deploy for 6 or 8. If bonded. Sorry, if devotion. They're 6 normally. On melee, on range, they're 4. And they don't have a harmony tag. Like, I would have preferred to give these a harmony tag. But we can't do that kind of change anymore. So Truzky's suggesting +1 power. Because then in Devotion, they'll play for 10 points. And no, that card doesn't need a buff. 10 points in a like 10 for 4 is too much. Just like with Ogreoids, like I understand it's over 4 points, but it's still a lot. Like 10 for 4 is too much. And I think those ogres should be 5p also. Like, I'm gonna see how the first balance changes pan out, and if monsters aren't like screwed, I'm gonna be voting for ogre for the Enraged Cyclops to go to 5p. Especially like if Larva gets to be 5p, then Enraged Cyclops needs to go up 1. Because you can put Larva in ogres and they'll proc a million times. And ogres will be too strong. So we need this because like lots of other monster decks, including Thrive and you know, Death Wish with Consume rather than like the Dagon nonsense and Succubus and Detlef, like there's another Death Wish deck with Haunt and Ruin that would be very good. If Larva makes it to 5p, it will be playable. Might even be tier 2. But if that doesn't happen, then like, and lots of other monster things are just not possible without some sort of card like Larva filling in the gap for the tempo. But if that doesn't happen, then there's no point nerfing. Like, yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna wait and see, but I think ogres are a bit too good. Certainly, the 4 provision one is too good. And what needs to happen is it needs to become 5 provision, and that will be a nerf to the Incubus synergy as well, which is very important. If your opponent doesn't want you to be able to res that, they could just not give you a 5p bronze. That's a choice that they can make. Anyway, this is like... Wait, did we lose the... There we go. This is like... Meh. Like, it's not going to be, like, bad if it happens. As in, it's not going to, like, have any harmful consequences. But, like, I just don't think it's necessary or impactful. This is fine. I mean, whatever. Like, so far, the changes that I've liked are this and this. And I don't have a problem with this, so it gets 1 check mark. This, I think, is, like, not going to be... Like, Devotion Harmony? Who wants to play Devotion Harmony? Why do we need to promote that? A solitary archetype becoming even more solitary and binary and smorky? Like, no, we don't need that. Deck should be dynamic. Ruin +1 power? I agree. And it's in my changes as well. Redanian to 4? Fine. I guess. Like, I don't think, again, uninteractive, like, oh, I want to play an artifact and dry pass, and the only thing on the board is this thing, and you can kill it, is like, meh. So maybe not, like, I'm like indifferent, you know? This is like slightly unhappy. This is very unhappy. Very bad. This would be like a terrible change. I would just like try my best to make... if this goes through, I'll just make decks that like specifically beat Witchers and no one else, because I just think that's terrible. Name the cards you refer to out loud. Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. That's a very good suggestion. Instead of saying this, so it's more listenable. Yeah. So I was talking about Ruin. Truzky suggesting +1 to Ruin, and I think that's a very good change because, I mean, for all the reasons I've talked about in my own video, I'm not going to repeat them. The change to Flying Redanian, I'm ambivalent. If you have any question about why I'm saying I agree or disagree, just ask me. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going. And then for Crow Mother, he's got him getting 1 power, and again, I think... Like, giving... Alchemy right now has a shit ton of points. It's not OP or anything, but it has points. It's not lacking in points or tempo. What it's lacking in is like the ability to answer opponents' threats. And the deck literally builds itself. Because you have, like, you want Gedinith, you want Fukusia because that's another preacher, and you want Freya's because that's alchemy and a preacher, and you want 4P alchemy cards to res, and you want you know, Axel because he gives you crows, and those can be used by the 4P Crow Clan Druids to play another alchemy card. You want Otkel because he's like 1,000,000 points. Like 80 to 90% of the deck is created for you. And in the last patch, CDPR buffed Ale again by giving it the alchemy tag to make you really, really, really want to play it. Because they felt like not enough people were playing it in alchemy. And like I've said before, I hate that kind of design. We like to make decks. Like, if the tags and the deck builder make the deck for you, what's the point of us, like, what is this? It's one of those RPGs where you get to choose the color of your hair, but not, like, anything else about your character. Like, thanks, man. I get to pick which leader skin I play the exact same Symbiosis deck as. Because I have to put, you know, every nature card in my deck and put in 2 Equinox. Like, that's so dumb. That's so dumb. So don't, like, how does that relate to the Crow Mother thing? Well, if you instead of making it 5 power, give it 9 provisions, then maybe the alchemy deck has some provisions for a Doragary, you know, or a Mastercrafted Spear or something. Maybe they can, you know, fit in like some like a Brockville, I don't know, Brockville Warrior or some more control cards. Chroma that can be other decks? What other decks? Like, for Chroma to get value, you have to play an alchemy card at least 2 different rounds. There aren't a lot of decks that play, like, that are going to reliably... First, you need to have a way to put Crow Mother in the graveyard. So, like, Darren is one way to grab it from your deck and put it in the graveyard, or you need to draw it and play it round 1. And, like, Crow Mother being a druid, if you have Gedinith on the board, you want to play it, right? Because it procs it, or because it creates crows, it has synergy with Crow Clan Druid. It has synergy with Axel. It has synergy, like, all cards that you want to play in alchemy, right? And, like, the same way that Flying Redanian is only good if you can res him, can get him out of the graveyard twice. Crow Mother's only good if you can get it, like, if it's priced with the understanding you're gonna get out of the graveyard twice. It is only for, like, I don't have any other deck where I would fit alchemy Crow Mother in, unless it's like some sort of creative hybrid alchemy / warriors deck that I've, like, experimented with because I wanted to play Bride of the Sea for another Sigriva. Like, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with somebody making a hybrid deck like that. Because first of all, it's almost never as good as the sort of the pure decks. The Malegion made this deck for me decks. And Axel and Sigrifa is not enough to get Crow Mother out. Is it? Like, how do you put it in the graveyard? So you're going to play Darren to put a Crow Mother in your graveyard in Svalblood? Like, you're not going to play Axel in any kind of Svalblood deck because it adds 3 bodies. 4, like, it adds a lot of bodies. You're not playing Crows, same reason. Those decks, self-wound decks, don't want to run Thinning. They want to run Tutors because there are some cards that they have to have. Thinning is good when you play like a Renfree NG deck, where, like, you have a bunch of cards, and as long as you draw like 5 of your 8 really good cards, you're fine. Whereas Self-Wound has like 4 cards, and it wants to play all 4 cards every game. Like, and like, what's wrong with you know, a 9 for 4 that, like, or sorry, you know, I don't think there's much wrong with this being 9 provisions. 5 power is a 3-point boost to Crow Mother. Making it 9 provisions is just some flexibility. Again, the reason like, sometimes you want 4 P cards from Philovandrel, you don't like that change? I mean, tough. Like, she's a gold. Like, you don't play Triss Telekinesis to get Making a Bomb, usually. You're trying to get something better, right? Like, why is this card more expensive than Triss Telekinesis, which is already an expensive card? I would rather this be Provision than, like, Power. It's maybe I'm meh on this. Like, whatever. It's fine. Like, I don't really think hand buff is, like, interesting or needs a buff. And this will either be abusable or it won't be played. 9P means Golden Necker? Okay. Oh no, Golden Necker Alchemy. Wow. So what? Golden Necker decks want thinning, want reliability, and want tempo, and that's fine. It's not like this is a control card. I just think that, like, Alchemy does not need 1 more point per round. It is, like, if you were to look at all the problems Alchemy runs into on the ladder, you were never like, man, if only I had 1 more point on my Crow Mother this round, I sure would have won this game. Sure, 1 point makes a difference in pro games and whatnot, and, like, you know, enough 1 point changes, you know, suddenly you'll have 5 points. But, like, I think that's a waste of a change. Like, everybody's so attached to this. Like, Lionheart was like, oh yeah, Crow Mother at 10. A lot of people, it's because they're just thinking, how do I buff Alchemy without buffing other stuff? Like, that's all they're doing. And I just don't think it's well thought out. There's more to it than that. So that's my thoughts on this set of changes, on the power changes. Let's do the same for the other side. Okay. So Ceres Fearless to 5 power. Terrible, terrible change. Holy crap. Please don't do this. Please, please, please don't do this. I can't believe that you would have the sense to say, like, Compass at 10p would be, at 9p would be bad, but don't realize that this would be bad. Why is this bad? Again, this is an answer or lose card in a deck that has many other answer or lose cards in the form of Canute and Melusine and Sigvald and sometimes Olaf. Like, not sometimes, like Olaf. Olaf is good with Ceres, right? And so is the 7p guy, Vildecarl. Like, no. If you want to buff, like, Ceres, like, buff Hafru Singer. Because, like, this card should be answerable, unless it's behind a defender, in which case, like, you want to answer defender anyway, and then you answer this. Like, you shouldn't have to, like, answer the defender, answer the Canute for 5 damage, and then you also have to answer Ceres for 5 damage. Like, this is just another binary, like, answer or lose card. Buffing this, buffing Letitia, it's all bad. Like, so the way that you use this is, like, you click your Melusine, right? You've been clicking it, and your Melusine's, like, missing 10 power. Then you use Ceres to heal Melusine, and you damage your Sigvald. So it's like a 20 point per turn card. How is it not answer or lose? On a veteran, it's like an 8 point, you know, like, because you can, the second part of it, like, you heal something and then you damage something, but overkill doesn't matter. Yeah, and then you restore for 50 points. Like without Ceres, you have like 30, 40 less points. Sigvald or sure, like, yes, if there was no Sigvald or Olgierd or you know, Olaf or Melusine or Vildecarl or veteran in the game, then yes, Ceres would not be answer or lose. Okay, it's a win more card. Whatever. Like, there are going to be some decks that are control oriented, they'll just beat Self Wound. There are going to be some decks that are solitaire and they'll lose to Self Wound. That's fine. I agree with that, right? What I don't want is, like, hey, I'm playing a mid-range. I'm playing a deck that has points. I'm playing a mid-range deck that has points, has like 2 answers. I have Heatwave and COC. And maybe I have like a natural selection or a joust or whatever. And I have a Peller for your defender, and I have a Squirrel for your, like, Melusine. Like, but I don't also have a fucking parasite or an assassination, and so therefore I lose because your Ceres comes out and cleans up. Like, there should be. I don't like the archetypal self wound deck requiring one more like special answer for a card that like isn't gonna be in every deck. Like 5 damage doesn't get that much value, you know. So like I just think that like you want to buff this, make this 9 provision. You know, again, maybe that would be too. Because like Golden Necker Self Wound has some drawbacks. Assuming Compass doesn't become 9p. Golden Necker Self Wound can have Heat Wave, right? It's kind of at the mercy of like draws a little bit. Doesn't run like Sov or Svalblood. Can't be running Care Trolled. So like to me, like that's and this is, you could argue this is a thinning consistency card. Like it's also a skill-based card because you have to track the timer. So I don't like this change. Morkvark +1 power. A lot of people are suggesting like tempo changes for this card, and I'm like, does it really need more or whatever? But I don't care. Like it's fine. I'm neutral on this. Lugos +1 power. Like Lugos has a lot of points if you can't remove it, and if you make it 7 power, then they can just drop it and then Martrom it or whatever. Like it's, I mean, it will let you like. It's not gonna help the use case of like if it was up to me, I would give him like 10 base power, and then have him drop down at like 5, right? And so you could like play him and heal him with what are these cards? Joanna or Hemi Fleming. Like if you have one of these two on the board, you could drop Blue Boy and then heal it, right? To get it out of removal range. What I don't like is 6 damage doesn't kill this card, so you're stuck with it. Like a lot of Truzky's suggestions are basically putting engine-y cards beyond removal reach. No, removal should counter engines. That's the counter. So like, while it's true that if you make this 7, it would see some play. Like it would improve its play rate. This card that is not played right now might see some play. Might see a lot more play than it currently does, relatively speaking. I just don't think that's a good change for the card. I don't think that's good. Like a 7p card shouldn't require a 7 damage answer to remove. The real Blue Boy plays Ulula, yeah, because he's a warrior. So like, I mean, I love this card. So like, I would like the Skellige archetype that like damages their own units and heals them and gets points that way. Like, I love these. Like, anything that says the word heal, I'm a fan. Like, it was one of the first things I saw in Skellige that I loved. This with Drakkar Priests and Drakkar Boats. Like, I think that's dope. Like it just tickles my fancy. Like it's my Factorio loving brain loves this shit. Okay? I like all of these cards except for this. The heal on this is so stupid. But like, and this. Like, these cards, I love them. I love all of them. And I want them to see more play. And my suggestion was to buff the power of Halford Singer so it's not so easily removed. Because it's a 5p card, right? A 4p card shouldn't require a 5p to answer. But a 5p card should. See how like 5 and 5 and 6 and 6 and 4 and 4. That's why Adept at 5 power would be dumb. Terrible. I disagree strongly with increase the power of this. But like Hofrasinger to 5 makes sense to me. Maybe I'm like overly focusing on provisions and trades, but like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the central tenet of Gwent. So what the point of triangle within triangle? Troll safe. On the one hand, you're complaining that this is taking too long. On the other hand, you're just like saying completely irrelevant things. Arnagad. Go to 8th power. Sure, fine. But like Sucrus is a card, so like, and this is pretty binary. Do you have a lock? Like, did you kill Sucrus? Did you have a Purify and a lock in your deck in the round in the round that you needed it? No, you lose. Keck W. Like, or are you NR so your lock doesn't doesn't work on deploy, so you have to like play your Margarita, have it die? Like Arnagad with shield, Arnagad with Sucrus, Arnagad with like behind a defender, like it's all dumb. But the dumbest of all is Sucrus defender Arnagad. And like why are we trying to buff this? Like, you want to make Arnagad better? Make it easier to set up the Bloodthirst so he gets more value on deploy. Right? Like buff the Quartermaster. This guy. Which is a card I know Truzky himself likes. Because I've played a deck that he made featuring this card. Faction SK. Where is it? This guy. Right now he's like 4 and then you damage yourself by 2. So it's like a 6 for 5. I mean, with synergy it's more, but synergy shouldn't count against the card. Synergy should be the reward for putting certain cards together. This guy could be 5 power, he could be so it's like a little harder to remove, and it's fine for it to be hard to remove because like he's one of the few proactive plays that those kinds of decks have, like Bloodthirst decks. So giving them a easier to stick proactive card like this would be good. And this is not like Drake Bondu where if you leave it alone, it will get infinite value. This has 2 charges and no other way to get more charges. Make this 5 power. Or I think at 4p it might be too good. And it would just get auto-included in a bunch of stuff. But like, buff that. If you want to buff Arnagad, buff this. Or like, maybe make this 4 power because it's a 9p. Sorry, it's a 5p. But the Bloodthirst 5 is like obnoxious. So it has like a high ceiling. Heck, you could give... where is he? Buff this to 9 power if you want. Like, there are much better things to buff than the most binary card in the archetype. Queensguard too strong at 4p? I don't think so, actually. But I want to make that change across the board. So, wait, at four provisions, yes, because like the Kikimor Warrior is 4 provisions and 3 power, and that destroys a unit. Like, maybe not. Because it still has an order, so your opponent has a chance to answer it. Maybe this is fine at 4 provisions. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would like this to be 4 provisions. And then... I would like these guys to be 4 provisions. I would like these guys... Where is it? Archesport to be 5 power. I would like Hunting Dogs to be 5 power. I would like Sewer Raiders to be 5 power. I would like Commandos to be 4 provisions. I would like Mahakam Dwarves to be 4 provisions. And I would... No, Crows can't change. Crows are too good. Because they come out of the graveyard too. These should stay at 5. I would like Sewer Raiders and Casino Bouncers to both be 5 power. No. Some people suggest Commandos plus 1 power. No, I'm saying just down 1 provision. If the Commandos deck gains 2 provisions, it's not a big deal. And making Commandos 4P means that like the ones you get from Foltest, or the ones you get from Roche, or the ones you get from like Boholt or Reinforcements or whatever, like you're not adding 1 more point to all those things. You're just giving the whole deck 2 provisions, which is fine, I think. Anyway, Casino Bouncers, yes, I agree with this. In fact, I had it in my list as well at one point. I 100% agree with this. Casino Bouncers to 5 power. And then this is, I think, Sausage Maker? Right now, Sausage Maker is 5 power, 9 provisions, and this would change it to 6 power. I agree with this completely. Because, like, he's unique in that he's a resilience unit that can go across all 3 rounds because he has an order to gain resilience. Much like Vandergrift. But Vandergrift has a shield and is 6 power. This is 5 power and has Intimidate. I think that's fair. So. Witcher Adept. Fish Flappers, I think is what people call them. It's already a 7 for 4. Because, like, who's going to kill this? Like, who's going to kill this? Like, if someone's choosing removal on this, they have too much removals anyway. So, it's not like... So, I think you can say it's a 7. Plus, Portal's getting, for sure, like, Shinmiri, Lionheart, half of Reddit. Everybody loves Portal for some reason. They just haven't faced abusive Portal decks yet. They'll come around, don't worry. But, so, like, this is, with Portal, it's very good. And they get armor, which you can use for lots of things in Skellige. Like, Skellige has lots of ways to get value out of armor. So, I don't think this needs to go to 8. This is one of those things, like, I wish those decks were more played. And, like, so I'm going to make a card too good. And then this card will end up getting played in other things. And I don't like that. Now, it is like a Witcher, not a warrior. So at least we're, like, it's not going to come out of the on-crate scenario location or the Feral Bond or whatever. But it's still kind of too much, in my opinion. The next card that Truzky suggests a power increase to is Kedvini Cavalry, I think. I don't recognize the Polish name. Does anybody know that card? What exactly it's called? Is it the Camel Riders? They're 3 power right now. Is it Caravan Vanguard? No. These are 5 power, 3 provisions. Or sorry, 5 provisions, 3 power. This Caravan Guard, right? Immortal Cav? Immortal Cav. Okay, it's the NR one. Shield. Deploy spawn a base copy of self on this row. What's the point of this card? It's just Ragnar, right? Because it doesn't even have bonded. Yo, Galleon, thanks for the Immortal Cap. And welcome to the chat. Happy to have you here. Just for Ragnar? Crew pocket? Because they're soldiers? Yeah, okay. I mean, like, fine. You know, whatever. Like, if you think you want to see more shielded camels, be my guest. NL Conquerors 8 power. You know, considering like big dumb ogres are 10 for 4 right now, having the card that requires devotion be 8 for 4 is okay with me. I'm not exactly like jumping at the bit to give monsters more dumb point slam or increase their point slam, but like, fine. Cleaver's muscle to 6 again. It's not that I disagree with this, like, that think this would be a terrible change. It's like it has an impact on Novigradian Justice, on Cleaver, on the card itself, on like Novigrad, on Walter Veritas, on like, and like, I don't think that Cleaver needs to have more points per turn if he sticks. Like, if you're trying to buff Cleaver or just like Crown Splitters, there's other ways, and I've suggested some of those changes myself. Like, actually, I think Puzzle convinced me that Unseen Elder to 7 power might not be good. That it's better for Unseen Elder to go down in provisions rather than be like harder to answer. But then like you see people making all these other cards stronger than 6, so I don't even know at this point. But like in Syndicate, you can buff Crown Splitter Thug with 4 power, and that would make it playable because it has Intimidate and does it comes down as like a 7 with an Intimidate, right? And would make like part of why Nova Justice isn't played is that it's not that it's not good value. It's a tutor that gives you an extra 5 points, right? Like it thins your deck by 1, gives you a 5-point card, puts a brawler on the board, is a crime. And having a crime in your deck has many other payoffs in Syndicate. And it gives you a spender. Like it's just that like if you draw your brawlers organically or don't have another dwarf on the board, it's kind of awkward sometimes. So like make it less awkward by making other Crown Splitters more playable. And the reason Cleaver doesn't see a lot of play is because look at 10p. You can have a Scoundrel, Helvete, or well, if some people have, dare say this will be even 9 provisions, Junior, Philippa, and for 11 provisions, like you can have what? I guess nothing. Like there's nothing good in Syndicate 11, but at 12 there's King of Beggars, Hamilfart, Acherontia, Jacques, Professor, Witchfinder. Like there's so many good things at 12. There's some really busted cards at 13 in Madame and Siggy. The Brute can be some pretty good points in Bounty, and then there's Gregory at 14 who's like 1,000,000 points. So like this just compares unfavorably both to 11 plus cards and to 10 and 9p cards. That's the problem with Cleaver, is because when you choose to put Cleaver in your deck, you're either cutting Morels, you're cutting Junior, or you're cutting like King of Beggars or Hamilfart, you know, or Jacques. Like you gotta cut something, and Cleaver is the worst of them, the worst of the playable ones. Like there's cards that see like no play, right, at the moment, because they have other problems. But like this is a decent card. It's just the only reason it doesn't see play is because the other choices are better, and we shouldn't artificially like inflate a card because the faction has other good cards at that provision slot. Like, take the opposite of this. Verena, I'm playing it, even though everybody says it's a shit card, I'm playing it in my Vampires deck. Is it because it's the best card at 10p, or is it a good 10p card? Not necessarily, but my other choices weren't that good either. I didn't like Rune Mage because if I don't draw it before Renfree, it's kind of useless. And a lot of times in my Renfree Vamps deck, I had to Renfree round 1 for any number of reasons. And then like Igni was bricking a lot of games because there's certain things I had to bleed out, like Syndicate. So like Igni was not getting value, especially when you have last say. And then, you know, like Morvad and Unseen Elder were too expensive and made me like have to like sacrifice 5 and 6ps. And so Verena is like the one that fits because I still don't think Protoflatter is worth it at 9p. And so I'm playing it. So a card can have a good play rate, not because it's a good card, but because the other choices are worse. And a card can have a bad play rate, not because it's a bad card, but because the other choices are better. And not taking that into account, everybody's like, oh, Cleaver's Muscle, +1 power. This would buff like 3 cards that I haven't seen in 6 weeks. Well, I don't think that's a good enough reason to buff this. And I don't think it's the right buff, because it doesn't address the source of the problem, which is that Cleaver is too expensive. It's too late. Cleaver is very popular. Sure, maybe this will happen. But it's important to educate people about like why they think this is good, because they're gonna make stupid ass changes like this next patch too. Like the same people who thought this was the cleverest, most dopest thing. Oh, how wholesome! We haven't seen Cleaver in a long time. I miss him. Yeah, you clearly didn't play during the tunnel drill meta, obviously, or you wouldn't say that. Or like, you know, or they'll buff this because they haven't seen Witchers, and like we'll just have some terrible, terrible things to deal with. You should change cards for the right reasons, not just because you haven't seen them a while. And you should address the source of the problem, not something tangential that might have unintended consequences that you may or may not have foreseen. Like you probably haven't foreseen. There's just the game's too complex. There's too many things that are affected by what you think might be a simple change. I actually posted to buff cleavers, but right. And like I get it. At first, like when I heard it first too, like I was like, oh yeah, that would be pretty good because like no one's ever played that from hand, and it only comes from those cards, and none of those cards are OP right now, and people are gonna nerf Syndicate in other ways that they shouldn't. They just are because people's understanding of the meta is always like a month behind the actual meta. Like Syndicate's actually not that dominant right now. It just got a bunch of nerfs, and like part of why Syndicate's good is because it's good into soldiers, which are also probably going to get nerfed. And it's like soldiers are really good into Svalblood, which is meta. So like that's why there's a lot of soldiers, which is why there's a lot of Syndicate. Like, and Syndicate is bad against Swarm, and there's no Swarm because Foulblood is really good, and so that covers one of Syndicate's other weaknesses. Like there's like so many different factors going on. 3 of those 4 things are changing, and so to go and in addition like nerf King of Beggars or Sesame to 6p or like that's nonsense. Those are terrible. Stop it. Just chill. We just nerf Syndicate, give it a month, and if it needs enough, if Sesame needs nerf, we'll do it. But like just fucking like just relax. Anyway, so what I'm saying is I don't fault anyone for thinking that buffing Cleaver's muscle is a good idea. I thought so too when it was first brought up, and then just going back and forth talking to chat, thinking through it and looking at other stuff, and like this is my 7th or 8th like collab session with chat on and reviews of like council recommendations. I firmly believe now that changing Cleaver's muscle is a bad idea. Not that it would in itself cause a problem, but because it still won't make Cleaver good. And it still won't make Novi Justice good because it doesn't address why they're not played. So if you guys make this change, now we can't make Cleaver 10 provisions. Now we can't like make Novi Justice 9p. Novi Justice should be 9p. It's a conditional tutor. It's not Royal Decree, like right? Like it's not Oniromancy. It can only play a Bronze Crown Splitter or Dwarf. Like that's pretty fucking specific. Whispering Hillock is 8p, but of course that doesn't give you an extra 6 points on the card that it draws. But that can draw any gold, like any card that has a Death Wish, right? Like Isengrim's Council is 8 provisions. Why can't Novigradian Justice be 9? It was so expensive because it used to be really good with like it was how you set up your Tunnel Drill pocket or your Cleaver pocket. But if you guys buff Cleaver's muscle to 6, now we can't make Novigradian Justice 9p, or we can't make Cleaver 10p because then they'd be too good. So like if you love those archetypes, you want to see them, do not buff Cleaver's muscle, please. The fact that it's an organic Andy Dog is the same as saying Novi Justice is a crime. I don't count leader passives when evaluating a card because that's the leader giving you those points. You think Cleaver would be too strong at 10p? Why? Is Cleaver better than Junior? Is Cleaver better than Heatwave? Is Cleaver better than Morkvarg? Is Cleaver better than Detlef? Is Cleaver better than Araka's Queen? I don't think so. I think they're on par. That doesn't matter to me, Zayed. Like right is right, and people should understand. And also, it's not too late. Anybody can change their vote. Like I can, just like I went in here and changed my Unseen Elder to Crown Splitter Thug. You can just come in here and change your vote. You have another 12 hours to change your vote if you find my argument to be convincing. Or maybe I'm wrong and you have a reason. Even if like you're not, even if like you can't be near a computer with Gwent on it, or you don't have Gwent on your phone or whatever. Even if, let's say you agree and you still can't make the change to your vote. Fine. But if you disagree, I want to know why. Like, why aren't you changing your... Like, if there's anyone who has Cleaver's muscle to 6p and isn't convinced by what I've said, I'd like to know why. Okay. Let's move on to the power changes. Could be with Acherontia with 6p muscle. Right. I don't want muscle to be at 6p. I want muscle to be at 5p and cleaver to be at 10 provisions. But if people make muscle be 6 power, then cleaver at 10p would be OP. Exactly, Mammoth. So that's why I don't want cleaver's muscle to go, because then it would be like, it's not just 1 point to cleaver. It's every time he spends. And that's the thing with a shield. Like, can we compare cleaver to Sir Skewersworth? Skewersworth is fine. It's just that uninteractive isn't meta right now because because Foulblood and like Monster Point Slam don't care about your uninteractivity. Nobody want cleaver to be 10p? I do. What do you're not even listening. The card sees 0 play. Even in line pockets, which should be like its home. It's an archetypal card for Crime Syndicate. Like, it has synergy with Tunnel Drill, with Brawler. Like, all those cards see play, but Cleaver sees 0 play. Why? Because he's too expensive, because Junior's better. So we need to make it cheaper. Look, if you're going to comment, you should at least... Like, I'm doing my best to read your comments and try to understand your point of view. I expect the same in return. Especially since, like, I think it's easier to listen to the stream that you're actually watching. His fee is bad? His fee isn't bad at all. It's 5 for 4. But it doesn't go tall. That's a huge distinction. You're not going to have Candle all 3 rounds, and Candle only has like 6 uses before it's not very good. Like, once you've used Candle at 5, like, you're just going to make anything too tall if you use it. So... Like, Blacksmith is 1 for 1. Like, the number of spenders that are good but don't go tall is just Cleaver. The ratio? No, Candle starts out as a 2 for 1, then it becomes a 3 for 2, then a 4 for 3. So Candle eventually, yes. The limit of Candle's... Like, there's a point where Candle spending is 5 for 4. And then after that, Cleaver is better than Candle. But before that, Candle is better. So Cleaver is always 5 for 4, Candle's like this, right? Or like Candle's like this or whatever. But the point is that you get it. Disciple isn't spammable. Cleaver is. Disciple is once per turn. And Oxenford Scholar makes 2 cards go tall. Helvete is only like has a cap, right? The cap on Helvete is 16 points if you have an empty row. Philippa's not a spender. Philippa has a deploy. Just because something uses coins doesn't mean spender in the context that when you say, I need a spender, you're not thinking, I need 16 Philippas. Stop being pedantic, please. Cleaver has a fee, is a reusable spender that you can't, like, I gotta, like, I feel like I'm in a courtroom sometimes. I gotta be like, heretofore, the entity formerly known as Cleaver will now be referred to as a non-cooldown repeated order ability with an intimidate that is also a crown splitter and is capped by the row just like every other. Stop. Nobody complains about spending on Jacques? I do all the time. It's why you play Jacques with King of Beggars, so that when you play Jacques, KOB also comes out. It's why every deck that runs Jacques also runs 2 Brawlers and 2 Eventide and runs 2 Oxenford Guards. Oxenford Guard is valued because over something like Sea Jackal, even though Jackal would be a much better, more efficient spender, because it splits how tall the boost goes. Cleaver is good because it goes wide. Like 5 for 4 is really good when it has a shield also. It's a card that goes wide that isn't vulnerable to wide punish, like a Lacerate or like a Svalblood or a Tin Boy, because you absorb half of the fucking hits. I'm just gonna ignore the last comment. I hope y'all are never in a work meeting trying to get something done. Talk about like tangents. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about -1 power. Cleaver easy to kill? So give it +1 power, right? But Cleaver is not easy to kill if Nova Justice is like 9 provisions, right? Or if you're playing a Crown Splitter deck where you have Sir Skewersworth. Like, when I played Cleaver, I ran Skewersworth and Tunnel Drill and 2 Brawlers and Furco, because all those cards make it easier to set up a Cleaver pocket. And if you put Cleaver next to a Dwarf, or in between 2 Dwarves, the turn that you play it, you're boosting it by 3, and then it's also boosting by 2, so it goes to 6. Like, you have some control over that, right? Plus, it's not like Syndicate doesn't have ways of protecting its engines by boosting them. Blacksmith is also a Crown Splitter that I usually put in my Cleaver decks. The only time where Cleaver is like a liability almost is against like melee both in Pirates. But if you're playing against Pirates, like you expect it and you play around it, you come up with things to do. And Skewersworth is really good against Pirates. Svalblood, -1 power. Sure. I didn't vote for this not because I think this is a bad change, but because like I feel like he needs -2 power. But if you give him -2 power, then on deploy you can't Geralt him. I think he needs -1 power and +1 provisions, but then that doesn't affect how it's played from Compass. Which some people are trying to make 9 provisions. Please don't. Please. Please don't. Even though my highest SK score has been with the Compass deck. Golden Necker Compass. Please don't. It would be bad for the game. Marine -1 power. This is a dumb change. This will do nothing to the one you make from Vigo or Slave Driver. I can't believe so many people might want to go -1 power. It is dumb. It does not change anything. In a game, you play 2 Marines from hand, but you play 1 from Ramon, 1 from Vigo, 1 from Slave Driver. Like, there are 4 Marines, which is like 66% of the Marines that you play in a game will not be affected by this nerf. So 66% of the Marines in your game will not be like, if you think something needs a nerf enough to put it like near the top of your -1 power list, you would like to have that -1 power have an impact. Okay, if you subtract 1 power from Ruin, that's got a big fucking impact. This is really -1/3 of a point. Stop it. Marine would be good +1 provision? Yes. That is why I have it at +1 provision. And we've talked about this issue to death. So 50% of the Marines, 2 from hand, 1 from Vigo, 1 from Ramon, 1 from Slave Driver, 1 from Slave Driver. That's 6 versus 2 out of 6 is 1/3. And I can only count to 6. No, because it has armor. The reason people say -1 power because it's easier to remove, but the one from Ramon isn't affected because you can't remove it with a 5 anyway. At 5 you can answer it. That's the most common thing people say. When was the last time you saw an Alzur's Thunder in pro rank? I'll wait. Well, show me a clip of Masters where somebody played, aside from Symbiosis, who does 5 damage right now? Would you know why I can put cards in council but I can't submit them? There is a condition to being able to vote, and that would be that you have to have either won 25 games this season or be in rank 0, also known as pro rank. You also have to have prestige 1, which means you can't be like a very, very new account. That's Ramon. It's a dumb card, but Ramon's not changing. And if it wasn't for like Ramon on a crossbow is fine, right? Like it's not problematic then, and even on Illusionist it's okay. It doesn't really annoy me outside of like Shoop decks. Is like a card kill instantly? Yes. And -1 power nerf to down to 3 is not enough for such. Exactly. Like, it's like saying it, you can kill it, you need 5 removal to kill it. You need 5 removal on the exact turn that it's played, that second, that instant. And if they use Battle Station to play it, or they use Ramon to play it, or like you just played the first card of a 2-card combo, or you also have a deck where you need to get your cards down before you do other stuff. Like, let's say you want to play a Crime to kill it, but you want to play a Brawler first, right? So that you can get Intimidate value, or your Cleaver. Like, a card that goes out of reach if you don't kill it immediately is not a card, is not the same. Like, a Light Cav comes down as like a 4, and you need 4 to kill it this turn or next turn or next turn. And you can make a decision about when does the trade-off between playing this removal and losing some tempo, where's the cost benefit between, like, oh, he's got 6 turns left. Okay, I should do it now. Or I can do it still. Like, I can play this card first and then I can do it and I'm still okay. Like, there's thought to it. But Marine is like, kill it turn 1. Always kill it. There's never a time where you should let a Marine go for, like, if you can kill it, that's it. Like, he played a card, so now you have to play a card. Is that not like is that not the kind of thing we want to avoid? He played this, so I have to play that. But he chose when to play it. I don't choose it, so I have to always have this card in my hand and hold it in case he plays a Marine. Like, that's a huge strategic advantage to your opponent. If he can decide the time that his Marine comes down, and like you're just at his, like, you have to react. You just use the hero ability. Right. And also, like, giving this -1 power has no impact on Imperial formation. Right? It's so silly. Like, removal doesn't, like, come on. That leader already plays for 16 points anyway. Like, it's not like, oh my god, now they cost him a leader. Oh no, they also got 2 points for the leader. Like, and 2 armor. Just shut up. This is bad change. Truzky, you're clowning. Shinmiri, you're clowning. Lionheart, you're clowning. Pajabol, you're clowning. Everyone who says this is a clown. And yes, that includes Gabain. And I love and respect all these people. They're just wrong. Oxenford -1 power? Sure. Yeah, probably. It's too good. But now, like, when you make this change, it will never get played. But I think the game will be better without this card. So -1 power, yes. Again, the only reason I didn't do it is because, like, I'm impatient, and like, if Tomorrow Soul plays for 19 instead of 20, yeah, I'll just give it one check mark. This is not a high priority change. If Tomorrow Soul plays for 19 instead of 20, like, really, is that what, like, how we balance Sov? A 5% decrease in its power? Dire Bear plus -1 power. What? Like, I get that you don't like this card because it's binary, but, like, this only affects 1 row, affects both sides unless they give it Berserk. Like, it sees almost no play. What are you talking about? Like, it's not like unhealthy. Like, okay, I'll just put 2 X's because this, I think, is like terrible. This would be like, the game would be, if in 12 hours Marines are not 6 provisions, I will have a lot less fun playing the game. If in 12 hours Dire Bear is at 7 power, I'll be like, that's a dumb change, but it won't affect me. Oh, it's a buff because it has the Berserk? No. I mean, okay, fine, but that still makes it... No. First of all, I'm not a fan of these, like, cheaty changes that are, like, hacky. Because, like from it's inelegant. Because it's like, imagine a new player. So for people who don't know, Dire Bear is a card that has a Berserk 7. He's 8 power, 9 provisions. When you drop him, he makes it so that on the road that Dire Bear is on and the opposite row for your opponent, nobody's units can be boosted, right? So you can't, like, play a Pact and give it 6 power. Nothing can be boosted. Whether it's damaged or not, it doesn't matter. Things can be healed, though. So, like, if you play Joanna, or if you're playing an alchemy card, that and one of your units is damaged, it can be healed. But if the card has the word boost, it won't work. Thrive also doesn't work, because Thrive, if you read the definition of Thrive in the game, it says boost in it. If the word boost is there, it won't work. Heal works. Changing the base power works, right? I don't think Dire Bear. Like, I would rather see Dire Bear go to 8 provisions than see it like get instant berserk. Like, I'm sorry, but like, there's a lot of cards in Skellige that damage their own units. That's an entire alt archetype. Like, there's cultists and there's, you know, heal cards and alchemies built around healing and self wound used to be around damaging your own cards. There's priests, there's adepts, there's veterans. Like, there's so much there. Are we just gonna give up on like all 30 of those cards just so we can artificially make this card be playable in your generic like Masters deck as an answer to Knights? Like, I'm just making shit up here, but in my head, like, Truzky was like, how do I counter Knights with Pirates? Oh, I bet if I could tech Dire Bear. And he's like, I can't because it sucks. I have no way to damage it with Pirates other than like Croc, which I don't want to play because it's a sucky card. So now I have to play like an on-crate warrior and then use that like to hit my own Dire Bear. That's not good. Like, it was like, I want to use this as a solution to a problem that I have. I can't. Why? Because of the Berserk. Oh, what if I made it usable for me? Like, if an entire like fucking archetype and tag and mechanic in the game is not playable right now, let's fix it. Like, if Thrive is literally garbage right now, let's fix it. Let's not just give up on Thrive or just give up on self-damage. So, that's bad. Joachim -1 power. I think this was considered a buff by Truzky because he wants it to be more playable. First of all, he's an aristocrat. He's played plenty in Ball. He protects your engines and he thins your deck. And it gives you a coup target and a target for your debuffs, so that if your opponent's trying to go unitless against Masquerade Ball, you're not immediately losing. And as much as I dislike playing against like Masquerade Ball and my problems with it, I don't want Masquerade Ball to just be like, oh shit, my opponent's only playing specials, I guess I lose. Like, that's a binary counter, right? That's like vampires against traps. It's not good. And so, like, vampires having the ability to play, what should we call it? Operator to spawn a unit on the opponent's side is a way that they can deal with that scenario and make their deck less binary, right? And I like Joachim and Roderick being on the opponent's side, and then you can hit it if you need to protect your own engines. So this, like, while he's thinking this is a buff, it's a nerf in that scenario sometimes, and like, he's undervaluing it because he's looking at it as like a generic NG card. Putting it in my deck makes zero sense in like Enslave or in Soldiers, even though he's a soldier. And while I'm sympathetic to that, I think that if you buff this for the other decks, you make it too strong for Masquerade Ball. Not to mention, right now, there are some very clever things you can do with Joachim, because in a Masquerade Ball deck, you have Roderick, Joachim, one time from hand, one time from coup, so that's 3 cards. You have Spies that you put on the opponent's side, and you have Rosa, which can spawn it. So you have 5 spots on the enemy row blocked. Let's say you're playing against like Commandos or something, or Harmony, or decks that, like, let's say you can't win round 1, and like your opponent chooses to go long because they want last save, because they play Erland or something, right? Like, there's just a number of scenarios where having the ability to like clog the opponent's board, and then they have some counterplay to that usually, is interesting gameplay. If you, or skillful at least. If you make this 3 power, you lose that. Not to mention, like, Masquerade Ball doesn't need more points on Joachim. Like, and other NG decks don't need help in consistency. NG has tons of consistency tools already. Again, I would rather make this 9 provision than subtract 1 power from it. I don't know why people are obsessed with Kraken. Like, making it 5 power. It's because they want to play these like binary SK decks that have nothing but point slam, and they're like, how come I can't kill my own Kraken? I just wanted to play a bunch of rain cards and beasts so that my Flaminica can be 69 points over 2 rounds. Well, that's the cost. Deathwish decks run Heatwave and Erendite. You can do the fucking same. Deathwish decks are running Cyclops and Riptide. You tell me Skellige doesn't have any damage cards? You don't want to put a single Gutting Slash in your deck? Instead, you want to make this this card like worse, kind of, but like more playable in your binary ass deck? Stop it. I understand that like the first deck that made good use of Kraken was a rent-free deck, but so what? Don't have to be rent-free. Put 1 4-provision Gutting Slash in your deck. This already damages stuff on deploy. You're telling me you can't afford a single 4-provision card to kill this? No. Dumb. Like, it's not that bad of a change, so I'm not going to put a bunch of X's on it. But, like, it's like, it offends me that people refuse to play a Gutting Slash to answer this, or any number of other millions and millions of ways that Skellige has to damage cards, because they're stuck on the idea of, like, I must get that extra 2 points for my Flaminica. No, I can't fucking remove 1 beast from my deck. Are you insane? Then my Flaminica will only be, like, 67 points for 7 provisions. Dude, just play it. Just play 1 less beast. I hate this, like, purist deck building. I will only play nature cards in my nature deck. I will only play ogres in my ogre deck. That's what people did when Ogres first came out. And then it wasn't that good because it was binary as fuck. So then we started putting Incubus and Toad and Riptide and Erendite and Heatwave and Oniro and Lady of the Lake. None of those are ogres. Our King Crumb is a little bit smaller. Who cares? Like, we lose less. We have less auto lose matchups. MG3AICO3, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here.
People like me.
It's funny. It's always like the middle of like some long-winded rant. Somebody follows. I'm like, okay. At least people are entertained. Canute Okrutny. Wait, what is Canute in the English version? He's just Canute, right? Canute the Callous. Oh. I'm sure I mispronounced that too, but it's just funny looking word. He wants to make this 6 power? No. Why am I against this change even though I think Canute's overpowered? I would rather just go to 9 provisions. Okrutny? That's close. Love the YouTube comment. Glad to be here. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yo, guys, shout out to YouTube. We're at 958 subscribers. So if we just get 42 more subscribers, I can be a YouTube partner and actually get a cut of the ad revenue. Isn't that a buff? I mean, like, it's a buff if you want to play Svalbard and not click Totem and have this be available. But, like, screw you. Like, Canute being at 5 power for the Berserk is a thing you're supposed to build into your deck. You want to make your combo card less combo? Like, alright. Well, then make AQ have Zeal and, on, you know, after casting Araka's Nest, it should consume itself. What are we, like, just decks? If a deck is played by pros, we want to make it even less vulnerable to disruption? Why? Or, like, worse against Enslave? Because that's what this would do. You can't ever play it. You play it, it's at 6, it gets yoinked. Or parasited, or muzzled, or... Like... Look, right now at 7... You can ping damage it with Totem and it goes to 5, and now he's like, you can use it more than once. Or you can leave it at 7 and it's safe. It's a trade-off, just like Kitty. You can click the Kitty and it goes to 6 and then you get to click it again, but you're also making it vulnerable. That's an interesting decision. It makes Canute worse than the okay, but like Canute doesn't say on deploy if Totem doesn't exist, destroy self and punch yourself in the face. Like, this is such narrow-minded, like, card changing. It's like, for the past, like, 48 hours, the Skellige deck that has run this Canute has run Totem always. So I'm only going to balance this in the context of that one deck. Why? Maybe I want to play Canute without Totem. makes it better against with Orsign, kind of, but not always. And like, I don't know, sometimes you have to drop Canute in round 1 because somebody passed you and you need 7 points and your deck doesn't have any other 7-point cards except Canute and Sigvald. But isn't that a fact though? What? That Canute's only play with Totem? No, it's not. Ursign doesn't need Totem. It can play Totem. Totem's a good card in Ursign. It's good with Spellblood. Yeah, I've made too many? Okay, well, he's not going to make all these changes. He's just, like, saying these are all changes that he favors. And, like, rather than just picking 3, he's, like, saying, I support, if you want to vote for any of these, I support it. He says this is good for Ursign. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree it's good for Ursign. But, like, just because people are playing a card with the wrong leader, in your opinion, like, when people are playing Zoltan in Precision Strike or in Guerrilla Tactics, everyone's like, oh, Zoltan was buffed so that it can help dwarves. How dare people play it in Guerrilla Tactics with Milva and Renfree? That's a bastardization of the developer's intent. I'm like, the developers can shove his intent up his ass. Your intent doesn't matter, okay? Like, if it turns out that people like to sit in their chairs like this, and like that's what everybody wants to do in the chair, and your chair can't handle it, you can't be mad at the customer for not using it the way that you wrote it. You built the chair wrong because you ignored the way that people are going to use it. So like you know, like, unless like factions, if you want to restrict something to a certain subset of decks, that's factions. That is the tool you have in the game for restricting a card. You should not be restricting a card to one leader ability, and leader abilities should not dramatically like alter the usability of a card. They should just have synergy. Leader abilities should be a bonus, not a requirement. Right now, you can't play Dettlaff unless you play Overwhelming Hunger. That's a fact. Black Devil Pro says, I think it's better to make him 8 because he will be bad at mid-range, but better in self-damage. I mean, maybe, but it's not like Ursign wants to waste a leader charge either. Like, they need 3 for Vildacar already. And if they have to use 3 for Canute, then they need 6, and they only have 5. Can I link this Reddit post? Yes. Do I amuse you, Fiddler? I drink Coke out of glass bottle. There you go. Some cards are fine. I like the thing about Canute is it's a combo card and it's like a weakness of the deck. So I'm kind of fond of it. You know, it's also better for the environment. Glass bottles, I think. So, like, and he's kind of a required card, unless you play Ursign. So that, like, making it more expensive is just like nerfing that leader by 1 provision. Because no one's going to sub it out. They're just going to sub something else out. So it gets a little tricky. Thanks, Mammoth. You can link that after we're done, or link it to me, and then I'll review it after we're done with this one. I'll put it on my other screen. Like, your intent don't matter as a designer. Like, you design the product. You don't design the people that use it. Understand that. Like, keep that in mind. Like, if you make a pen that's designed to be held with your mouth and people prefer to use their hands, like, you're an idiot. Doesn't matter how much better it writes when you flick it with your tongue. Like, thanks, Mammoth. If Sigvald and Canute are on board, which are you going to Heatwave? Well, you're going to Heatwave Sigvald because you can kill Canute with, like, a 5 damage. There's a difference, right? Like, like, okay. Like, you have you have an ice cream and you have a sandwich, right? And you're somewhere without a fridge. Which are you going to eat first? The ice cream. Does that mean the ice cream is more nutritious? No, Andy Dog. It means that if you don't like eat the ice cream now, you won't have ice cream later anyway, because you can't, like, it will melt. So of course you're going to eat the sandwich later. Like, you don't, that's not a choice. So saying like, because I would rather Heat Wave Sigvold than Canute Sigvold needs a nerf isn't necessarily the best reasoning, right? And I think a better logic for why Sigvold deserves a nerf is that he plays for too many points. And he plays for that many points even without Canute. Yeah. I guess if this Canute change is just meant to be a nerf to Totem, Canute synergy, and a buff to Ursine, I think they put Totem in the game specifically so you wouldn't have to play Ursine to play Canute. And I support that. Some decks prefer to Heatwave Canute because they have like either COC or Igni, right? Or what's the reason? Okay. Crazy thing is, oh, like it makes 100% sense, but for some reason it needs to be said out loud. Yeah, like some of the best insights seem obvious and silly when you say them out loud, but like we as humans have a way to overcomplicate things and overthink stuff, miss the forest for the trees, like over-engineer things, and like a lot of intelligent people get lost in complexity. And if you can like boil things down to their essence, like sometimes it sounds like I'm being provocative or disrespectful. It's not. It's that I fundamentally believe that clouds are judgment, and that you should like strip all that away and just reveal the naked core of the thing. I think we're likely to make better decisions when we simplify things. I don't think humans are good at analyzing things that are too complex. Sigvold's not that oppressive. You can still use it on. You can still use Canute on boat. Okay. So sometimes Kareem is explaining that sometimes if you have Sigvold and Canute, you'd prefer to control the Canute because even if you Heatwave Sigvold, there's other targets like boat or like the leader or whatever. That makes sense to me because like whenever, like with a lot of monster decks that I played back against Self Moon, like Vamps against Self Moon or whatever, I would always prioritize Canute because it's the one that can kill my engines. And I would let him hit his Sigvold if he wants like to with Mardromes and stuff. Because if all he has is Mardrome, then I know when he's going to hit it. And I can time my Flutters to boost from his bleed. Or just I can outpoint him because I'm playing Kashi. And he can kill one of my units every turn. I'll make 2 units the same turn, the following turn, right? So like there are situations where the control that Canute gives is more damaging than the points that Sigvold does. That's another example. It's the bell curve meme? I need to see this meme, Golden Kicker. Yeah, and also there's Old Geared. So like which you heat wave, which you control, it's complex. It depends on the situation. We can do chess puzzles all day about what would you do in this situation with this hand, in this matchup, with this opponent, with this card having played in the graveyard and whatever. And I think that would be a fun quiz game for somebody to make screenshots of Gwent Masters and ask the players what they would do and then see if they get it right. But that's a different project. I know. I hope Jan heard all that and his gears are ticking. Okay. I don't have a strong opinion on this. I just think that like this seems like an odd change. And it's too narrowly focused on the current specific decks that are played. Like it's like skating to where the puck used to be or is now rather than where it's going, right? Like that's the analogy. Like you should not skate to where the puck is right now. You should. The meta's gonna change. I promise you, the meta's gonna change. Like Care Troll, Sigvold, Svalblood, Sov, like Canute, like all these cards I've seen in other people's like nerf lists. So we should, you should not make changes based on today's assumptions. How does this relate to what I was talking about? Oh, like the tryhards are happy and the casuals are happy, but there's like the diamond rankers that are so toxic. That's what we're playing on an experimental patch. Well, I think we'll get feedback from some of the contestants before Masters, and we have another chance in November, and then another one. So I think there's 2 more changes before Masters, right? So like I for one, like if the 16 people who are playing in Masters like get together and agree on a set of changes, or at least like the majority of them say we support the following changes, I will do what I can to promote it, and I will vote the way that they suggest, because like I want to see a good competition. So okay, this is Scapegoat. Scapegoat is currently a 2 power 4 cost card that is disloyal, so you play it on the enemy side, and it gives you 7 coins on deploy, and has and puts a bounty on itself. So you play this card in like non-golden necker bounty usually. It gives you 7 coins, which is nice. And then if you happen to kill it, it gives you another 2. So usually you like kill it with a freak show or executioner, so you spend 2, but you get 2 back. So it's like it's a disloyal, so it's a -2 plus -2 points plus 7 coins, but the -2 points can then be turned into 0 points and also 2 coins. Not to mention, it puts a bounty on itself, so it's a +1 to the profit of the brute, and you know it's kind of like a coin bank for you, right? Because you can have 9, like let's say you have Vice, like Ixora, and you have this on the enemy side. So Ixora's on the board, there's a Scapegoat on the opponent's side, you drop your freak show, you click the freak show to kill the Scapegoat, you spend 2 coins, but you get 2 coins back, right? And so that can help you with your Vice triggers. There's things there. Truzky wants to make it 1 because I guess he feels like bounty is a bit weak right now, and this would be like a 1 point buff to bounty. It would make it worse with freak show though, so I don't know. And also like without knowing like what this is trying to address, I don't feel like it's necessary. Is it even a stat buff? Right, because like you get the points back when you do 2 damage to it. Like, so what's the purpose of it? It's so he can play it in non-bounty, right? Like if you don't have an offensive spender. Hey, Space Daddy. We're reviewing Balance Council suggestions. There's 12 hours left to vote. If you're curious how I'm voting, right now my votes are on the left. I'm looking at Truzky his vote, and we're recording a video for YouTube. 4P bounty 1 damage card? Yeah, but what's the... I mean, that card already gives you like a bunch of coins. And then this gives you 7 coins. And then you want another 1 coin? Like if you play Confession Extractor this round, which is like you're being uninteractive, right? You already have 4 coins in the grave, 4 coins in the banks, so you're not playing this the same round. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that works. Like, you would over profit or anyway. Incubus, he says -1 power. I disagree, not because I think this would be the end of the world. It would kind of suck for Thrive decks that use him because, or like vampires, because it's like they just lose straight up 1 point and they don't have that much tempo to begin with, and it would be harder to proc Thrive with this. Which is already like not very good in Thrive because he takes 2 spots. And when I say Thrive, I mean Kashi, because that's like how it is. Hey YouTube, hey future me, it's past me. Hey, where's my chat? Chat was hiding. There you go. Hope we are better today, future me. Now, future me has some complaints. Future me wants to talk to you about the cigarettes and the debt. And also those drunk texts you sent last night. Or tonight, I guess. So, and like really the problem with Incubus is like it gets a lot of points when you play Griffin, which is a 7 for 2 because you had to eat a fruit, right? Or some unit last turn. So it's Like, you have to play a 7 for 5 so that you can have a 12 for 5 or a 13 for 5 or 11 for 5, whatever, depending on what you rest for the opponent. And Griffin has counterplay because opponent might not have played a 5p bronze. The other case is a Fiend, where like you will play for 14 minus whatever you resed, and like that can be very good, especially in relics. But like your typical, like if you res the squirrel or something for your opponent, it's still 10 for 5, which is not exactly like, you know, whatever. If you res a mage assassin because you got lucky and opponent played a bite maker against you, okay, now it's playing as 12 for 5, which is the same as a corsair, which is the top end of the 5p cards. Still less than, by the way, Spring Equinox, which plays for more, but whatever. But the reason Incubus is OP is one, the meta is very point slam favored because like Spellblood and Syndicate and NG, like that's how they shape the meta. Like if Frost was dominant, we'd have more engine decks, right? That's partly, but the big offender for me is when you play it in Ogoroids and you're resing a 4p card for your opponent and you're getting a 10. It's 16 minus like 4. It's unconditional and it gives you might on one row. Like that's where it's busted. And I think that Incubus, like the fact that it has like, it's like okay in like Thrive or Insectoids, it's like playing fine, and then it is playing for like good value for in like mid-range and in like near the top end of the value curve in mid-range and in relics, and then it's playing like above the curve in Ogoroids. To me, you just adjust the above the curve part. That's it. RC, we talked about this already. Go back in the VOD. I talked about Redanian already. Exactly the change you're suggesting. So that's this. But like I said, I don't have like a strong issue with nerfing this by 1 power. I just don't really think it's necessary. And I think it's a much better change would be instead of targeting Incubus for Ogoroid, just target the Ogoroid. I think the Cyclops should be 5 provision. It's 10 points and gives you might. Don't tell me, oh, it has a timer. Well, it can't be like, you know, an unconditional like old geared for 5 provisions. It has to have some downside. Like Veteran is 8 for 5, and you know, like Goliath's 7 for 12, and Pugo is 8 for 7. So like, I don't know. Enraged Cyclops can be worse. Like Enraged Cyclops is another example of CDPR making a card OP to buff a dead ass like just terrible archetype, but like they overdid it. As we've seen because of the Incubus interaction, it's too much. If it wasn't for Incubus, you could argue Enraged Cyclops is fine because they only play 2 of them, but Incubus means that you get it 4 times and it doubles the OP value of it. So no, just make Enraged Cyclops 5 provisions. So they have to make some decisions about stuff. Not to mention, the 5 provision slot in monsters is pretty dead anyway. If this being 10 for 5, because this isn't proccing Assimilate or protecting an engine, and it requires setup, like, and it doesn't have armor, and it's not getting copied by Ramon and Slave Driver and Vigo. Do you understand why this is different than a Sergeant? I'm already changing. Look at the screen, man. -1 power to Slave Driver. -1 to Sergeant. -1 to Sergeant will be literally 2 points less in a short round 3, because, or 3 if you play Ramon. Because the ones you make off a Slave Driver and Vigo won't do anything. They'll still go to 7, which they already do. 7 plus 2 armor plus an Assimilate proc is a lot for a thing you create from a Slave Driver. And 9 plus 2 armor plus and Assimilate proc is also a lot. But not to mention all the games where like you use a sergeant to protect a light cab or reactivate a light cab or a marine. You know, there's lots of things that get protected by sergeant. Like I've lost many games because this gives you a special you can apply to another card. And armor has value, yeah. Like it's the reason why NG is played right now is because it's good into Svalbard. We've talked about all this. We're not going to go back to it. I only responded because we were talking about Incubus and they said if it's okay for this, what's the difference? There's lots of differences. This summons a card, doesn't play doesn't play cards. This is, there's a million things. Simless, -1 power. I mean, fine. Like Simless is OP, but like, okay, it's better than nothing. Prince Willem, he has some provisions also. Yeah. Simless is part of, I mean, if they nerfed Harvest to 6p, and then they nerfed, like, then they released Backup Plan, which is busted at 5p, right? Backup Plan is like, you know how, whatchamacallit, the wolves, the Skellige card. The special that spawns a wolf on the opposite side gives you a warrior. Feral Bond. Okay, thank you, Fulfilled. You know how Feral Bond was like 4p and then turned to 5p? It can give you any bronze, or any warrior, but it's like it's supposed to be balanced by the fact that it's -1 point, right? Backup Plan is literally Feral Bond plus 2 points, and they're the same provision. Who taught them math? Like, if I was Malegion's like elementary school math teacher, I would be doing community service right now to try and repay the debt I've caused society. Like, Feral Bond was so busted, it's still really good at 5p. The reason it isn't seeing more play has more to do with like the provision spread of cards and things like Care Trolled and Tier and Fukusia and Herald and like all those cards being busted and auto-include that make it hard to include 5ps, which is why all these like -1 provision to Svalbard and -1 provision, or sorry, +1 provision to this OP busted card that no one's going to cut from their deck isn't a good idea because all you do is you just swap a 5 for a 4. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, Backup Plan. Like Backup Plan got released and then Simless came back, right? And then the decks that like Saskia got nerfed because Harmony was like too prevalent. Because they didn't want to like touch something that affects other archetypes. Just the one deck that's currently OP. We just want to touch that one. Balance your fucking game. The meta will take care of itself. No, we're just gonna look at the top deck and move it down one, and then there'll be a new abusive deck, and we'll move this down one, and we just shuffle Opagus. Like, I swear, like, for some reason, devs think that the best way to balance a game is just to play whack-a-mole, like release new OP shit, nerf the last month's OP shit, and somehow that's gonna keep the game fresh and us interested and excited. No, like chess hasn't had a meta change, like card power provision change in a very long time, and it's still fucking exciting. If you make your game be good, you don't have to just keep jiggling it to avoid us getting bored. Don't go there, chat. That's not what I meant. Backman is one of the best control cards. Yeah. Feral +2? Only if you played a Highland Warlord. But even then, like, +2 on your side is a lot worse than -2 on the opponent's side. Like, I'd rather... Plus, it's like, it hits the last unit that was played. It's extra 2 points of reach on whatever you want to answer with Backup Plan. Yeah, then why are people playing 40 chess? I love the last chess balance patch where they released En Passant. Exactly. It's true. That was the last chess balance patch. Actual Sultan takes in the chat. Prince Philip -1, sure. It's like a Roderick for everyone else. It's literally Roderick, but way, way worse. And it's the same provisions as Roderick. This is, if you don't think there's NG balance in the game, any NG bias in the game, just read Roderick and read Prince Willem. Same provision, same points. Both are -2, right? They're both disloyal. One shows you 2 golds and you get to pick which one you play. The other one just randomly plays a gold from your deck. It could be Knickers, it could be anything. In 11 hours and 43 seconds. 43 minutes and 42 seconds, I think. I'm guessing. Momasha, I'm not sure. Will it being she doesn't mean NG is busted? No, I just said there's a bias. Literally, Yenvo was like better than Heatwave in every way for a very, very long time. Yenvo would literally steal the enemy's fucking scenario and put it on top of their deck, and then they could play the scenario because scenarios used to not have doomed. And then they nerfed Bomb Heaver because like people were killing scenarios. They're like, man, nobody gets to have their Solanios scenario stick. We worked so hard on these cards. This card has like 3 chapters, and we thought we innovated and pushed the forefront of card game design and expanded the envelope and enveloped the frontier and pushed the boundaries and avanted the guard and there's going to be museums talking about my innovations with this card that plays 3 other cards, as if that's never been done before. And they were so sad about it that they nerfed Bomb Heaver. They're like, we just don't want a 5 provision bronze neutral to answer a scenario. Okay. Well, what about Yenvo? They're like, no, that's fine. It's like, well, why does only Nilfgaard get it? It's fine. Why is it less provisions than Heatwave? It's fine. And then later, because Red Ray made a Caretaker Siege deck popular, where you were literally playing Renew, Caretaker, and Siege, and you were playing the Siege scenario 3 times in one game, they made scenarios doomed so you couldn't do that, and that was a nerf to Yenvo's ability to remove artifacts. And then later on after that, they nerfed Yenvo. Like, you're telling me there's no NG bias in this game? Gee, I wonder why the player base has the higher play rate for Nilfgaard for the past 15 months, with the exception of 1 month. The highest play rate for the top 2,500 pro rank has been Nilfgaard. Or have all of us conspired together to make NG look bad? Or maybe there's a bias. I don't know. I'm just pointing at numbers. I don't have explanations. I'm not making accusations. Occam's banana phone if you're CDPR. Every patch I feel like I'm getting whacked with a banana phone. You're going to find deeper meaning. No. There's no way. Yes, Goat Thief, which is why I have it as a provision, as a provision nerf on Marine, because I am not a clown. I have thought about my suggestions. Alright. Renfree, -1 power. No. Hey, I've made a scenery. Look, we can make a little sunshine and little rays of sun. It's like the sunset. And then we can make like some birds in the distance. Maybe a little happy cloud. Oh yeah. And then like a little river. And some like a tree. Look at this fluffy tree. This is a happy tree. And all of it's gone because people listen to Shinmiri's balance suggestions. You don't get a happy tree. Bloop. How's that for sound effects, Kareem? Okay, the reason why this is a bad change is, look, here's a card that is playable by every faction. right? Every archetype has units. Some of them require specials, but like I'd say like 3 out of 5 archetypes could be played with only units, probably, very effectively. And yet, there are 2 Renfri decks in the meta. NG Imperial Formation Soldiers, which has been in the meta since Double Cross Renfri got nerfed. It's been Imperial and Imprisonment got nerfed. It's been Soldiers Renfri forever. Okay? Soldiers Renfri Triss, since like the first season that Renfri came out, till now, has been meta, has been top tier, has been playable, and Soldiers have been busted, yada yada yada. I'm suggesting some nerfs to Soldiers. Because I think that if you know, if there's a hole in your door, you should fix the hole in the door and not double reinforce like the next door window. Okay? I'm just crazy like that. I think that if there's a hole in your ceiling, you don't need concrete reinforced like walls. You should fix the hole in the ceiling. I don't know. I can't do analogies anymore. I'm too tired. Everybody can play Renfri, but there's like 2 decks that play Renfri. Priestess and NG Soldiers. Maybe the problem is Soldiers. Like, I punch you in the face with my fist 16 times in a row. And also, it was raining one of those times. You think it was the rain that hurt you, or was it my fist? CDPR says it was the rain. It's Renfri's fault. What up, Rich? Rain strong. Yes, yes. Rain's a bully. So, no. Like, just nerf the thing that's too strong. Don't nerf something adjacent to it. This is like when we went to war with Iraq because Bin Laden attacked the US on 9/11. What? It's for 9/11. What? They hate each other. This guy's secularist. Those are... He hurt my dad, okay? I want to do better than my dad because I have an insecurity complex. Because I'm a flunky who's bad at managing a baseball team. Moving on. I hate Renfri Vampires. Just pray for last say and increase base power. You hate playing them or playing against them? Because they're not very strong right now. So like Group A did a bad thing, and we're gonna go punch Group B. NG Soldiers is the 9/11 terrorists. Renfri is Saddam Hussein. Why do I have to explain everything to you, TrollSafe? Jesus Christ. Just one time, I want you to like fill in the blanks, you know? Just... Maybe he's just really out of the loop. Not everybody like lived through the same political landscape than I did. Or maybe he's a Zoomer and he's actually like 14 years old. No one's joking. Why can't we kill them all? That is not appropriate. Or are you saying why not nerf both Renfri and NG? Because it's a type of deck. And like sometimes I'm just so sick of hyper control-y decks, and I enjoy playing like a Renfri deck with a bunch of like points I can put on the board that they can't touch, and it, like watching them play like control card after control card into my like Renfri's gang and my Maxi and like, you know, Egern and Imler, like just Goliath, like just playing cards and they have to just bash their face against it. Anyway, Torres -1 power. This will only affect the first form, won't affect the second form, and the first form plays for 22 points. Color already explained why this is a dumb change. It won't do anything, so no. This is like a list of cards that he thinks are imbalanced, and he either put them in the provision nerf or the power nerf column, and it's like that's not how you should balance a game. Treherne. And I mean, Truzky's a busy person. He's got shit to do, and I'm not faulting him for his list not being perfect, but I'm just saying I disagree, and here's why. Sadly, even a provision nerf wouldn't make Torres. Like, some things should just be, like, fixed properly, and I don't want to half-ass anything. I'd rather, like, make some cards be good or be balanced Then like make a shitty card slightly less shit. Like, just let's not even waste the effort. Let's just focus on other cards. Treherne, -1 power, sure. This card can rot in hell. 7 provision Morvad that doesn't banish your own cards. -1 power. What's this gonna do? I mean, fine. Okay, fine. But like, oh no, it played for 17 instead of 18. Priestess -1 power. Again, like, what's this gonna do? Like, if you want to vote on this, I don't mind. Go for it. I don't like either of these two cards. I think they encourage. Like, this one just says put a card in your deck because it has the beast tag, which is fine. But I would rather that be like a bonus and a. But it has too high a ceiling. Like it should have a cap, or it should be like for every bronze beast. Like, there should be a limit to this, that where your entire deck isn't literally play every beast, hope you win round 1, play Flaminica, hope they don't squirrel it, replay it using Fucusia, and now you have 1,000,000 points in a short round. Like, that should not be a fucking like game plan. Okay, there should be more to a game plan than just that. Why are you playing Aguara? Because it's a beast. Like, why are you playing Wolfpack? Because it's a beast. Why are you playing 2 scrolls? Beast. Elderbear, beast. Okay, thanks. We get it. You're into animals. That's illegal in the state of Washington, but whatever. You can Google that. Vanadane. -1 power. This used to be 6 power. He used provision mostly for non-units. Makes sense. He's of the opinion that we should buff more things than nerf things. I'm of the opinion that if you have, with the way power creep has happened and how CDPR only touched a handful of cards every patch, and how the game has 1,600 cards, I'm of the opinion that it's easier to make everything be equal by nerfing the stuff that's above the curve, because there's a lot of things there's some things that are above the curve, fewer things above the curve than there are below the curve. So we should nerf the things above and buff the things below. It used to be 6 power, 7 provisions, yes. And it got changed to 9 provision because it was, once they reworked Waylays to not be conditional, it was too good. And so because every game was Waylays, people were renewing it and lots of other nonsense. So they made him 9 provisions, which is, I think, a balanced amount considering what he does, even without Simless. I think, no, actually, like, they literally, instead of nerfing Simless, they made Vanadane only playable with Simless. Because I would have loved to play this in my Golden Necker deck. Hey, I have 2 bricks, or I have my artifact is in my hand for my movement deck, and this can put it at the bottom of the deck and also give me some Waylays, which will do some damage and create a body and lots of cool synergies there. But at 9 provisions, no, I'm only gonna do this if I can heist and or if I got at least a Simless in my deck and a Melissa, or at the very least just a Simless, right? Like. So whatever, they didn't fix Simless, and so instead they made him 9 provisions to make him slightly less abusable. But at the same time, they were like, we don't like that he gets immediately muzzled and answered every game, because that's what was happening. Everybody was running muzzle, and every game you saw Vanadane, you just yoinked it. So they made him 7, which means now there's a chance he might get a benefit from his intended passive, which is that when you play a Waylay, you get an extra 3 points out of it. I think that's cool. A card that plays for 7 plus an extra 6 potentially. Like floor of 7, ceiling of 13. Great, fine. The problem is, if you have Heist, you can replay this, and some decks can't win round 1 against Elves, and then they get hit with 65 fucking Waylays, and then Verno deletes everything. So, like, the problem's Heist now. You want to nerf it by 1 power? Fine. I'd rather Vanadane be unplayable than deal with like nonsense Elves, which are like 1/20th of the games I play. But in that one out of 20 games, I'm just like, I don't have 2 tall punish. I guess I lose. Like, I only have a Parasite and a Heat Wave. I guess I lose the game because he's gonna get to replay Angus or Vanadane 16 times. And the Angus change, I like this a lot. I don't get as many check marks to the Vanadane because, like, Vanadane has a passive. He should be playable without Heist and not punished for Heist sins. But I'd rather it Like, I'd rather not see any heist decks than, you know, be fair to Vanadane. You just describe every game play against SD? Yeah. Yeah, like for the kind of decks you play, I bet L's are a nightmare. Okay, so take a mental snapshot of this. I should have been doing these in picture form each time. Because I have to now delete my canvas and move on to the next set of changes. Here we go, looking at the +1 provision changes that the Truzky has suggested. Doing some like rocket surgery over here. +1 provision to Temple. Yeah, sure, fuck that card. I don't think it'll do much. They'll just cut an offering, but honestly, like, you give enough provision nerfs to this deck, soon it won't be a playable deck anymore, and I'm perfectly fine with that. We can't buff traps while heist exists in its current state. Not sure what the two have to do with each other, but I don't think anybody wants to buff heist. Temple should be 14. Temple shouldn't exist. It literally is like, it would be like if there was a gun in Call of Duty that had 0 recoil and 100% accuracy. Like, that would be dumb, right? Like that'd be dumb. And also like a big magazine. And you could use it to call in air support. Like there's certain constraints you put on weapons in a game, and then like if something comes along and it's just like, no, fuck your constraints. Like, that's bad. So Gwent is a game built and designed around provisions, and everything is balanced around provisions. And then you have a card here that's like, no, I just give you a draw for free. Like, what's you know, mutagen? Yeah, again, it doesn't get more check marks for me because I don't know how much of an impact this will have, but like, I guess if both of them go through, then they both get 2 check marks. Sov should be 13 provision. Yeah, probably. He plays for too many points, man. Like, this is not the same as Yaga and Unseen Elder. And like, Morvad plays for the same amount of points as Sov without the thinning, and it can't be played round 1. Best of 3 pre-nerf Vesper? What are you talking about? Oh, is that like a gun in Call of Duty? I actually have never played Call of Duty multiplayer. I was just making shit up. Jackpot +1 provision? Yes. Jackpot needs it. Like, it just got over nerfed because people were too slow to adapt and use off the books because they were too used to like Jackpot. And like, they needed permission from Pajabol and others to like play off the books. And once the pros switched, then like, those of us who were saying off the books is good enough now, we're like, what? I'm an idiot, but 2 weeks ago playing this, but now that he does it, it's suddenly meta. Anyway. Harmony. Huh? No, Call of Harmony doesn't need a provision buff. It's just a binary dumbass deck. Some decks should be for beginners. It's fine. Play this if you're not in pro rank. Not every deck needs to be like not every brainless, solitaire, smorky deck that just tells your opponent, do you have 1 million points or 16 million answers? No, then I win the game because I win round 1, lead round 2, have a short round 3 with Big Bird. Or like leader plus Corexis. Like, that doesn't entitle you to a win in pro rank. Like, sorry. And we're not going to give it provisions just cause. Like, giving it a deck not being good because it's not versatile enough should not be rewarded by being given more points. This is the same reason I don't want Alchemy to get +1 power to Crow Mother. I think Alchemy should get flexibility and be able to run control. But the reason I'm not taking that stance with this is because this leader with Corexis is an insane amount of point slam. So unless you want to, like, you have a way to rework this leader or Corexis, delete it into oblivion, I just don't think this is healthy for, like, Alchemy getting a couple more provisions to run some control is fine. But if, like, Harmony, given that it's going to keep all of its point slam and then so, like, massive burst potential, like, Alchemy has burst with Utkill, but only if you've set up 3 Freyas in the graveyard. This has massive burst, like, anytime they want to, because it's a leader plus quarter. It's 1 card combo. Plus it can proc scenario twice in 1 turn. Like it's just dumb. Like they can trigger chapter 1. This is like, you know how they nerfed Afon? This is Afon as your leader, except it's like 8 power and has harmony and is a relic, so it procs 4 X's. Like it's insane, this combo. You can triple proc scenario. No, you can't. You can just double proc it. I'm guessing sometime after 11 hours from now. I don't have any more information. Maybe Lionheart or Shinmeri know. Same with like Forge. Like again, just like randomly giving provisions to decks because you don't see a lot of them currently isn't a good idea. Let's address why they're messed up. Although I don't really have a good solution for dwarves. And because we've taken so long on these, I'm not going to pause here, but if somebody has a good solution for like making dwarves more competitive, you know, post it in chat, I guess. You can triple proc it if Corex is on board first. Or double proc, yeah, I guess you can. Rain, again, binary, Smorky. Like, do you have a scroll for my Ryogon? Like, we don't need to just... This is a philosophical stance. Tactical decision doesn't need a buff. It's perfectly fine at 15. Like, when you have some stuff in the meta, like Battle Station Soldiers, or like Enslave 6 with Torres, or Svalblood Pastoral Fury with Sov, you know, or Syndicate with Acrontia and Sesame and Ixora. Like, when you have some things in the meta that are just... They cheat, like they literally have an extra 10 to 20 points, and then a bunch of other stuff that doesn't, that are all tier 2. You don't need to buff every tier 2 deck if you're also nerfing the tier 1 decks. Just nerf the tier 1 decks. And then that's it. See how things pan out. I promise, like, if once we nerf Soldiers and Care Trolled and Sigvold and Svalblood and like all these things that he suggested nerfing, these decks that are like so much lower will already be higher. You don't have to buff every single one of them. But like Jackpot at 12 provision is just sad. Fruit's getting 1 provision. I've always wondered why this is 12. And like, I know right now this has a very strong deck with the werewolf and whatnot. If you want to nerf werewolf, I'm for it, right? If you want to nerf the ogres, I'm for it. If you want to like nerf Megascope, I'm for it. But I don't think that this leader should get the shaft just because some decks that happen to also use it are a bit out of whack. Yeah, Andy Dog. In fact, that should be my latest video. If you want to just find Podja suggestions, they're on Twitter. Sesame +1 provision? No. Like, I don't like... You can argue that the decks built with Sesame and Vice are too strong. I'm amenable to that argument. But making like, so if you say that, then you're saying that something in that deck needs to lose provisions. If you apply that provision loss to like Boat or Ixora or King of Beggars, or like Novigrad, like we've already done, then like that will make the combo more risky. But not less consistent. Not the combo risky, but like it reduces the stamina of that deck. It makes the deck more vulnerable to being bled, right? If they can't also fit Jacques and all those things in the same deck, or Madame and all those things in the same deck, then yes. So I'm not against that deck losing 2 provisions. I'm against Sesame losing 1 provision each. And the reason for that is, first of all, there would only then be 4 specials for a Shady Vendor to play, which is kind of silly. Like Syndicate's now down to only 4 5 provision specials, like from having so many. Like 6 months ago it had like 10. And no, they don't need to nerf That's why Defender. Nilfgaard just needs to run 1 Mastercrafted Spear in their decks. I don't know. Or they need to not have Candle be the way that it is. an immune card that is a spender that can boost other cards. Like Candles caused so many problems since it was released. But that was the same people that released Mutagenerator. So, you know. But anyway, sorry, I keep getting sidetracked by random comments in chat. Sesame being... If you change Sesame to 6 provisions, not only are you making Shady Vendor worse for no reason, you're also making the deck less consistent and more high rolly. And Syndicate's already notoriously like high rolly. Like it's the draw your golds faction. We don't need to like exacerbate that. Like I would rather we nerf like Ixora to 9p and Acherontia to 13p than, which would have the same impact on the deck than do this. Because right now there's games where you draw both Sesames and you're just coasting in like round 1, and there's games where you just don't draw them and it sucks. And no, play Furco isn't the answer, because like Furco just is forcing people to play Furco is the same as losing those 2 provisions anyway, basically, because he plays so far below the curve, unless you're using him to play Nova Justice in a deck that likes that and gets other benefits from it. So like, you know, no, I'd rather a deck be more reliable but less powerful. And I feel like in general the Syndicate deck has too many points. It's not so much that it's like uber consistent. It's that when it does get its way, or when you can't effectively bleed it because you happen to miss a card or 2 that you need to bleed them effectively, they're kind of like insufferable, right? They get too many points in a round 3 or whatever. Yeah, nice bait, Mastigos. Make Wheel of Fortune a bronze so I can play from vendor. Anyway, that's how I feel about Sesame. I think people are going to over-nerf Syndicate no matter what I say, because 90% of people who vote have never played Syndicate or don't play Syndicate or don't play it well or don't understand it. Like, it's going to happen, unfortunately. I wish it wouldn't, and I'm sorry for people who enjoy playing Syndicate. Syndicate being in the meta is good. Y'all don't understand how much like Syndicate being in the meta had kept NG soldiers back, because they're hard counter though. And they already got nerfed. Syndicate got like 2 provisions lost on Novigrad, 2 Vice lost on both, 2 Vice lost on Ixora. Now, I'm not saying those cards aren't good, or maybe they need some additional changes, or maybe the defender's an issue, but like it's too soon for people to be nerfing like King of Beggars and all this shit, like, and Sesame to 6. Like Sesame to 6 just makes it unplayable. Pickpocket is 6. It gives you 8 coins. Why would I play this? Like, there are games where I get squirreled once or twice, and like my power drops significantly. And I know that like you would say, well, that's because Sesame's busted. No, it's just that like it's the nature of Syndicate's fucking design and identity being that they have invisible points that you can't touch, because there are no cards. Like, I can lock an enemy unit, I can kill an enemy unit, but I can't raid their vault. Like, you know what Heist should do? Heist should steal the opponent's coins. Like, because that's what a heist is. You should just like raid the freaking like lined pockets of Cleaver or something, you know? Tide Cloaks getting a provision buff? Fine. Only because I don't think that like some leaders being less or more provisions is that good a way of balancing stuff, and this is below. And also, I'm not sure, I don't think that one provision is going to make Tide Cloaks suddenly good. I should replay Laura Doran. Put the strings to 5p the nerf Vice Keck. I hope you're joking, but I've already explained in my Lirio review why Heist putting the strings to 5p is bad. Even like, and El Corolla said the same thing. That it's Bloody Mistress to 10p for the good old days. Corinthia Bloody Mistress, let's go. No. Force of Nature to 15, yes. Fine. Or to 16. Yes, but only because like this leader is just 9 points in one round. Most leaders are like 3 points 3 times or more, right? Like this is 4 points twice, but also like all the synergies you have with Rain. This is 3 points, 2 points plus a shield 3 times. Like, this is a 9-point engine. This is literally like Force of Nature, but better. And is an extra provision already, right? Like, because this is a relic, but this is like a relic. This Force of Nature is kind of like if you could play a 9-power Self Eater that didn't have an order. Like the order was disabled, but it was a 9-power Self Eater, because every time you play another relic, it would get boosted, right? Which is what this Harmony guy does. Like it's literally just a one-time use point slam card, which is great for reach, but it's kind of, yeah, you could use some love. This, no, hand buff doesn't need more provisions. Hand buff just needs better RNG. I don't know how you make that happen, but it's a dumb archetype. So, and like, it's like, it like auto loses and auto wins certain things, and all it would do is like add more like rock paper scissors to the ladder in a way that isn't interactive or fun. Care Troll, yes, plus like all the like this card is way too good. This is way better than a Heat Wave. It's just, it's like a Heat Wave and a Diplo combined into one, but also better somehow. Ooh. Regis Bloodlust to 11 provisions? Yeah, only because, like, I don't know. Like, 20 for 10 is a lot. Plus, like Knights decks that just randomly chuck this in the deck and don't seem to be impacted at all because they can drop this and then play a Cursed Knight and then Necromancy it. Like, there are other, like, there's probably better ways to fix that, but not ones we can control. And, like, 20 for 10 is a lot. Like, Egret is 15 for 10 and has armor and shit. Like, the downsides on this, now that the main downside has been removed, aren't enough to just, like, they took away its biggest downside, and then that's it. Now it's just, like, ridiculously good reach card. For the price of Roach. And, like, if you don't draw it round 1, that's fine. He just banishes himself. Your deck has been thinned. Congrats. No. I mean, I think putting this and the Compass 9P together is idiotic. By itself, like, you could argue he plays for a lot of value. But, like, Golden Necker decks already have extra provisions because they can't spend them on other stuff. So you're not really impacting them in any meaningful way. If you want to address Golden Necker, you control it by the cards that are 9P versus 10P. Don't make busted ass, like, there's already a clear line. Like, the game already has this. Heat Wave is 10. COC is 9, right? Like, you can't run Oniromancy. Like, you can't, there's a lot of cards you can't run. You can't run Igni or Geralt or Heat. Like, there's just so many things. Like, when you see an opponent as Golden Necker, you know what they can't do. And I think that's a big enough advantage. And if you want, like, if a Golden Necker deck becomes oppressive, look at the 9 provision cards in that deck and make them 10P. Easy. Just like when SK Pirates with Compass was oppressive, and like everywhere on the ladder and all of our masters and at all ranks of gameplay, it was like too good and too flexible and was cheaty provisiony. We nerfed Compass and then it was fine. We even buffed Coral and to compensate. Coral went down to 8 provisions. So like when Syndicate Golden Necker was oppressive, instead of like targeting that specific deck, they just made Roach more expensive and Bank. But like, stop nerfing neutral cards that are used in 1 or 2 decks. Just nerf the non-neutral cards in those decks. I don't know why it's so hard to understand this. You know, nerf the thing that's a problem, not the thing that was in the same room one time. Shield Wall, extra provision? No. Why are we giving everybody more provisions? Like, have you thought through what this would do to the game? People would just chuck more. Like, it's not like people are going to be like, I will now be running 5, 6, 7, 8P golds and bronzes. No. You're just going to jam more Geralts in your decks. And every deck will just have a Heat Wave and a COC. Like, that's all that you'll do by giving everybody extra provisions. Like, If a leader genuinely you think plays below the curve in terms of points, that's one thing, right? Because of like its ability and passive combined together with this, like in the way that it's typically used, play for less points than other stuff, fine. But like just chuck in every leader that you haven't seen in the last 2 months doesn't mean that this is the right solution to it. Like this is a rushed job. It's not that like this would necessarily be that bad. It's like it's a solution before you've diagnosed a problem. It's like your doctor hasn't done an exam, hasn't done a blood test, and is just telling you to like lose some weight and do exercise. Yeah, like losing weight and exercising is good for your health, but like maybe you should still do the CT scan because I'm feeling a lump in my breast and it might be cancer. So can you do it anyway? Like shows to be six is bad, but what about uprising? Lyrian Scytheman. Make this 5B. Make Cohen, like reduce Cohen's base power, or yeah. Like if you make Cohen 2 base power, he'll be better, and uprising will be better. Like there's lots of ways, and I'm not an uprising expert, but like you could spend 20 minutes with some people who know the thing and brainstorm some ideas. This is just a lazy way of doing it. Sinless +1 provision, sure. Card is stupid. It'll always be a pox on the game, and like does ST deserve it right now? No, but Simless deserves it, and we'll have to buff ST in other ways if needed. And no, this isn't the way. Flaminica, +1 provision. Okay, +1 provision and +1 point. He's just saying it's busted and he wants one of them to happen, and sure. This does play way above the curve. Azar, I feel weird saying that only the Syndicate Defender should be 10 provisions. So I'm gonna say like I'm ambivalent. Like I understand why this one's different, but like Azar is a bigger problem for the strongest decks in the meta right now, which are Skellige, either Warriors or Svalblood, and Nilfgaard. Those are all decks that have tons of control and tons of tall punish, or can fit lots of damage, so that you have to be very tall to require tall punish against them. And like making Azar worse doesn't address those games. Like if Syndicate starts dropping Azar, they'll just be more binary, right? They'll be less safe against Skellige and Nilfgaard, but against like monsters and scoia'tael, they'll still have the stupid ass like engines that play for a gajillion points, and they'll still like abuse those decks. It will just become more of a polarized thing, right? That's why it's the only faction which has Candle. Yeah, like Candle's a bigger problem than Azar. Azar's been in the game forever. It wasn't like one Mastercrafted Spear, one Surrender, one Devil's Puff Bomb, or not Devil's Puff Bomb, this guy, the neutral 5P special. What is it? Arrakis Venom. One of these takes care of it. Or one Boiling Oil. There's a lot of like answers to it. Spring Equinox used to work. Siegfried works. Like there are lots and lots of counters to Azar. The problem is Candle. So like, yeah, I'm changing my vote. I don't like just changing one defender of one faction to 10p. Like that's not a good. All right, -1 provision. I'm gonna try and speed through this last batch. Okay. Living Armor, -1 provision. We'll make Golden Necker constructs even better than it is. I don't like that, but I feel like if constructs are too strong, then Frenzy Dao should be the one that gets nerfed, because that's the strongest one by far. And like maybe Enraged or Colossal Ifrit could go to 11p or something. They're like better than dragons right now. Yeah, Old Tempest would have answered it. I don't know why they changed Tempest. I hated that shit. Like Old Tempest was good. It just damaged 3 units by 2 and purified them, and you could even use it on your own shit. textbook example of a card that was situational but clever and like a cool tech. And some decks it had synergy, but it wasn't so good as a neutral card that was like ridiculously strong for only 2 factions and no one else runs it. Like, which is what Tempest has become right now. Yeah, Old Tempest was a beautiful card. And I could just tell that the new regime didn't understand it at all, and they've just been itching to get rid of it. Same with Equinox. Like they just, rather than like buffing the cards to make them playable or do something else interesting with them, they just like gutted them and replaced them with some cards that's completely different. Like, they didn't even replace Old Tempest. At least Delirium kind of got, like, Old Delirium was also a cool card. It was a cool card. Old Tempest was damage 3 adjacent units by 2 and purify them. So you could use it on Azar. Or you could use it on something that's next to Saskia to purify Saskia, or Erland. It was like a Devil's Puff Bomb that also purified and didn't require a death blow, but did 1 less damage. But you could also use it on your own units. I'm pretty sure. Which it would damage everything, but it would purify. Sometimes maybe you want to hit your own stuff and purify them. Anyway. Construct. Living Armor is like kind of power crept. It's good in Dwarves. Because, with Wagenbergs and other things. And it's stupid good with Marauders. But, I think, like, if Olgierd can be 9, this can be 9. Olgierd Immortal. Helvi to 9. I already said why I don't like this change when I reviewed Lyrio suggestions. It's a card you always play in Firesworn anyway. All you're doing is adding 1 provision to Firesworn, which is not what it needs. It's just a badly designed archetype. I'm sorry, it can't be fixed. Yen of Vengerberg. Yeah. I like this change because this is the kind of card that has enough downsides. Like, this is not on the same level as Igni or Geralt of Rivia or Heatwave to me, right? Like, it's just not. So I think it's okay for it to be in Golden Necker. And like Swarm decks with Golden Necker can be played, and this can be interesting, and also this can be like backfire too. So maybe this is okay. I don't know. I might have said the opposite the last time I reviewed this, but I've kind of come around to it a little bit. Melusine to 9. I don't know about this. It's still carryover abuse. Like, you can still fit Grimace, especially if Compass gets changed. This would be a problem. Without Compass, you can still Sigdrifa a big-ass Melusine into round 3. And Golden Necker decks wouldn't have problem fitting the tutors to run this. So I don't know. And Madoc absolutely does not need a buff. Madoc plays way above the point for provision in an NG Madoc deck. And unless you're also gonna like change Letho. Yeah, no. Geralt Quen, it's a conditional tutor. It gives a shield. It was very strong with Bear Witchers during a certain meta with Reckless Flurry. It is very good with Arnagad because the first thing the opponent plays just auto dies. So I'm a little bit hesitant, but at the same time I feel like he's just too weak now for 10 provisions. Like, considering Witcher is a very broad tag, like I would love to run this as a tutor for Gatan, for example. Right? And at 10p it doesn't make sense for that. At 9p maybe. Because in a Golden Necker deck I'd have the provisions for it. Mercenary Contract to 6 provisions? Yeah, I agree. This card is just way too weak. It's not worth the 7p. Well, what are you laughing at, Ray Ray? The Madoc thing? Like, or that something is so cancerous that even Mastigos is like, no, that's too far. Yeah, the Madoc change. Like, who wants this? This is so terrible. Borsodi? I would rather these got a power buff. I would prefer plus power. But ST at 6 is kind of bare bones, so I'm going to say yes. And ST could use more. Like, ST's... SY. SY is just too polarized right now. And giving them some cheaper golds that are playable is good. Yen Illusionist, it has too low a floor and it's too unreliable to be 12 provisions. I think it's fine for it to be 11, maybe even 10. But let's try 11 first. Naglfar to 8, yes, absolutely. The only reason I didn't put it as one of mine It's because I can use Imlerth in both Renfree and non-Renfree, but I can't use Naglfar. Portal also, I think, is fine. So... Commandos to 4P. Yeah, I already said I agree with this. Of course, I would also want to see the same change for other things. And the reason I agree with this is because Commandos is really sad, like bad right now. Not that I'm a fan of the archetype or the gameplay it offers, but maybe with one less provision, it can be a little less binary. But also, this could just be a consistency tool in non... Like, as long as you're not playing Shoop, you could put this in a 10-4 mutagen. It could just be a thinning tool. And I think having 4 provision, pair thinners would be good for the game. I would just want to do this for Wildhound Riders and for some of the other stuff. And then for Casino Bouncers and I've already gone over the thinners. For a bunch of the other thinners, I'd rather they just be 5 power. Yeah, this is Siri... No, wait. It's Siri Nova. Not Siri Nova. It's the one that gives you an extra card. It's Siri Dash. Yeah. So Siri Dash, after 3 turns, it gives you an extra card. It doesn't have a shield or anything. So it's really only used with like Crystal Skull. It used to be in a Kelly deck it was used. So that they could like turn basically blue coin into red coin. To keep you from passing, and even when they were blue coin, because like if they played their Kelly, you just pass and be like, all right, now use your win con again, and then I'll survive the bleed and then win round 3. But they would do this and then they would pass, and then now you have a Kelly on the board, so whatever you played, it gets eaten, and it was just not a good time. But it got kind of power crept, and people just killed stuff now. Formation milestone provision, I agree with this. The reason it got an extra provision was because CDPR was like, man, we made the soldiers be working. People are just playing imprisonment. That's not what we intended. We wanted them to play soldiers. We'll nerf the thing they're choosing to play and buff the thing we want them to play. Maybe then they'll get the message. And players were like, well, it's 2 more provisions. And it's like a 16-point leader. Fuck it. Yeah, sure, why not? Also, they nerf imprisonment to 14 provisions. But like, they shouldn't have never done this. Imprisonment is perfectly... Imperial Formation is perfectly fine at 15. Okay, this Siri, the one that gives you an extra card, I worry about this because, like, although it sees 0 play now, I wonder if it'll be too annoying in Golden Necker, especially when they stick it behind a defender, or like they engine vomit and this is one of the cards. It can be kind of annoying. At the same time, like, it's just seen so little play, and it's an interesting card. It flips the coin thing on its head. And I think it requires... This is a card that actually requires you to adapt. When your opponent plays one of these, you kind of have to be like, well, what do I do now? Like, what's my game plan? My game plan has to be different. So I'm going to vote yes on this. If it becomes a problem, we can just nerf it again. Because it's on the 9-10p mark, and we can just make it 10p again. I don't think... Like, if this becomes annoying, I don't think it'll be hard to convince other people to vote. Right? Whereas, like, if Golden Necker goes to 10 and that's too weak, it's going to be a pain to convince people to make it 9. 3 Sealy Golden Necker's BS? I mean, what does the number of series have to do with it? It's not like that. It's like, if this is the 3rd series, transform space and time. But also, like, Siri's, like, such a cool character. We need more of her. The Thinning Dwarf, yes. Nobody plays this even in Dwarfs. Trained Hawk to 4p. I agree with this. I almost voted for this myself. Black Rayla, 7p. Yeah, why not? And same with Nithral. Is this Queen's Maiden thingy? Which of these Drummond is it? Drummond Shield Maiden, I believe, is what Truzky is selecting here. Yes, I agree with this. Because it's a thinning card. One new comment. Oh, it's on Reddit. It's a thinning card, and if you give it 1 power, it would be abusable in Lippy. If you just make it 4 provisions, it just becomes a good thinning card for Earth Sign and for anything that can damage itself. So I think this is good. Surprise new Geralt card gonna drop. Boost by 3 for each series played this game. Or maybe that's just gonna be a new Emir, Mastigos. Ciri's like the most important single person in the whole Witcher universe, and she's so weak in Gwent. More series, yeah. That's kind of my thought. And then at 5, it's not like she's hard to answer. She doesn't have a shield or anything. You can just kill it. And they paid 9 provisions for it. It's not that different than Ciri Nova either. And Ciri Nova has a deck building requirement. And is 8 power and has shield. And this one is 5. They both give you some sort of carryover. Okay, Anna, 6p? Yeah, why not? I think I keep forgetting to screenshot the left side. What's it called? This is Griffin Witcher Mentor. And it's a bit power crept. There's things that it can be good in, but I think it could use a provision buff. Wait, no, provision buff. No, this is too good for a 4p. 4p card shouldn't have such a high ceiling. It shouldn't be like, oh, snap, I have this 4p tech card that now plays for 12. I don't like that. Is there another 4p card that sometimes plays for 12? I guess this wouldn't be 12. This would be like 11? 11 for 4 is too much. We're nerfing Oxen for Scholar for the same reason. And I know that's like the max, and Scholar can be like the first card. Just Telekinesis? Yeah, this card has been overpriced for a while, in my opinion. It should be more playable. Only played in Arch Griffin? It used to be played in Mutagen Siege as well, as a reach card, but then it kind of got power crept. And in NR, like, boosts can have double value if you use it to boost duelers. Plus, like, it would be really annoying in engine overload type decks. Like, if you got like an Arbalest down to like 3 power, and then this thing came down and boosted it. Does it have formation? I don't think it does, actually. Is it just an order? Right, but it protects itself, so it's not like they could just float that at 9 power. Do you kill it? No, because like, do you hit it? No, because like it's not doing anything. But if you don't hit it, then whatever else you try to kill, unless you kill it that turn, can come back to. Yeah, it does have formation actually. So yeah, no, they could just drop this instantly and boost something to keep it from dying, and I don't think that would be good. So I vote against this. I would be fine with +1 power though. I'm sure he'll not need +1 power. Alzur's Double Cross and Marching Orders. I think this was like puzzle suggestion, and I'm fine with that. I think it makes sense. So somehow, like, I went from disagreeing with a bunch of his changes. Mainly Melusine, like in this round, Melusine and Madoc I disagree with. Everything else I agree with. And Helvete, I think, is the wrong way to address it, but whatever, I'm not worked up about it. And then everything else I agreed with, except for... No, yeah, I agree with everything here. Minus Melusine and Madoc. Every other change in his -1 provision section I agree with. Cards that really shouldn't be buffed. Magic Compass. I've said this many times. Necker to 2 power. They're decent in Ogreites because of the tag, and it's a huge buff. It's a buff. It's not a huge buff. You can still remove one of them for two damage. It's not like, oh my god, it's not a Marine, okay? It's like, oh, do you have 2 damage? Okay, well now it's a 1 point a turn. It's better to buff Andragolara to 5. I think we should do that, which is why I voted for it. I think that we should also do this. If it wasn't for the Ogreite tag and Crumb and the Cyclops, Neckers would not see any play anywhere. It's just that we have those things. So for the moment, I decided not to vote for buffing them to 2 power. I think we should nerf Enraged Cyclops to 5 provisions, and then maybe this can come back. 10 per to 9 per. When we buff card to enable Gold Necker, we need to think twice about that. For example, I personally think the idea to buff Sandor to 9 would be very dangerous because of potential Gold Necker false abduction abuse deck. Which is not even that bad right now. Yeah. And then he goes and buffs Madoc. Come on, my guy. Like, listen to your own advice. That Madoc and Melusine thing, like, no. I could be convinced of Melusine. I'm not 100% against it, but Madoc, hell fucking no. You think Madoc at 9 would be fine? I mean, Nilfgaard would still only play it with Letho. So, the worst deck wouldn't be using Golden Necker, but Madoc's such a shit of an annoying card, man. Like, if you run into Madoc, you're either like, haha, he's playing Madoc, or you're like, fuck. Like, I've never, like, enjoyed a Madoc game where I was, oh, this is close, and it's going to come down to our, like, decision-making. Bounty and Poison? There was also NG Golden Neckers that were decent. But I would rather... Rush, it's gonna happen. Shinmiri and Lionheart think it's a good idea. I think it would be god-awful. But... my Reddit thread didn't get as many upvotes, so... we'll nerf it back. We'll nerf it back. It's so funny. They're voting for Golden Necker to go to 10 provisions and making Compass 9p. I can't even. Valkyria says Golden Necker controllers haven't been that good outside of Poison and Bounty. My suggestion for Golden Necker decks is to make these two cards be 9p. And the two cards that I have in mind are Avalok Sage, which plays an artifact from your deck. Like, this is usually played to tutor a scenario, right? Or sometimes Mutagenerator or Garrison. But in a Golden Necker deck, you don't have those cards. His value is automatically lower by virtue of being in a Golden Necker deck. As a tutor, you are, like, the most expensive scenario you're going to tutor with him is a 9p card. So this should be 9 provisions. Plus, it would make Golden Necker less YOLO and more consistent. Right? Right now, like, there's a lot of decks that don't play Golden, that I've tried to play in Golden Necker and I decided against it, is because you don't have control over what you get. If I could take one of the artifacts out from the deck manually, like if I could thin them, then I know that I have one artifact left, and this would be so much more playable. Plus, it's a neutral change, as in it wouldn't like overwhelmingly favor one faction. And like, Royal Decree has been 9 for... Royal Decree used to be 10. It got changed to 9. This never got changed. Yeah, you could use this to get Tome and then use Tome to play Golden Necker. And if you're going to use 2 tutors to play a 3rd card, okay, you should be allowed to play it. But that's one change. And the second change I want to make is make this 9 provisions as well. I caught, like, Lion had a short discussion about it this morning. I was in chat and I said, like, we'll just get pirates all the time again. It was half the ladder, and he's like, it wasn't half. And he's like, Golden Necker is not really in the meta right now outside of one deck, or not in the meta right now. And like, Compass is a 9p card, should be a 9p card. Yeah, this is also beautiful art. Like, I mean, transform a special card in your hand into a random... Again, this is another card that by virtue of being in a Golden Necker deck, all of its abilities are less powerful, right? It's only, like, it's not going to play a Heat Wave because it's a Golden Necker deck. It's not going to play Oniromancy or Sihil because it's a Golden Necker deck, right? And the transform, you can transform a brick, but it's going to transform it into equal provision. So it's not, you know... Like Golden Necker likes to run Puzzle Box in case they have like a card that got messed up, right? Like you have a thinner. Exactly, Rush. That's literally why I can't. And you know what? You know what? You know who else voted for that? Ray Ray. Our own Ray Ray has Golden Necker or has Magic Compass to 9 provisions. Ray Ray, I can't with you. You have 10 hours. Don't do it. Change it. You are better than this. I would like to think I've had some influence on you. Please. Don't fuck. You know what reason Ray Ray gave? Well, everyone else is voting for it. If I want my vote to matter, I'm going to vote the way that everybody, the way that the crowd is voting. That is literally Ray Ray's logic. That's right. I'm putting you on the hot seat in front of everyone, giving you direct quotes from Spiro's chat this morning. You thought I wouldn't come back to haunt you. You want Shrooms Golden Necker? Okay. You don't need Compass for that. Make Chrome other 9 provisions. I'll drop Imlerith right now, okay? If every person who was gonna vote for Compass to be 9P promises not to do it, I'll fucking put Chrome Mother here right now for you. Okay, you know I respect it, but your reason is to be more solid than that? Shame. Shame. Oh my god, when I want to play it, thank you. Ulrich? Lots of people suggest the buff to Ulrich. Yeah, let's roast Ray Ray. Let's interrupt the Truzky review. I already explained why power increase on Chrome Mother is not necessary because it's like Shrooms already has plenty of points. I'd rather this be playable in Golden Necker to make the deck more consistent. And also just give them 1 provision so they can run a Doragary or something. Or fit in Heatwave and Ale without having to sacrifice too much. Marine -1 power. I've already explained why this is the dumbest thing ever. And then Sesame to +1. I already explained why this is dumb. And it's always the people who don't play Syndicate, by the way, who have this idea. Oh, I heard about this card. This card's very meta. This card's very strong. Let's nerf the card because it's very strong. And then there's Magic Compass. Chapter Wizards, fine. Like, it's Temple is 12. How can I? Anyway, change this. Magic Compass, or I will just shame you every day. And then Sesame, also change this. I can live with the rest, but like I think this is -1 provision. I think this is -1 provision. And I think this is the most awful change anyone could ever suggest.
Hello, motherfucker.
Cards that really shouldn't be nerfed. King of Beggars. Carrying various archetypes very strong and probably needs nerfs in the future. Nerfing right now would kill the entire faction. Kinda. Acherontia, Exor. It's better to nerf Sesame instead. No. Wait. He has an explanation. Okay. I'll read the explanation below before saying anything. Calvite. Consistency card played mainly in Enslave Assimilate. I think we should nerf real oppressors here. Torres, maybe even Artot. If we nerf Calvite, Enslaved players will just switch to Puzzle Express and Enslave with Magni instead of Calvite. Except Puzzle's deck is actually not that good. Like, it worked really well for him in those qualifiers. And then I tried on ladder a bit. And then, like, we had mixed results. And then he came, like, it had a really good matchup into soldiers. It was countering soldiers while also having its own soldiers, but not being as vulnerable as Enslaved 6 was to some other decks. So it was a perfect, like, counter meta deck that helped Puzzle qualify. But, like, in the following seasons, like, even he dropped it. It's not a solid, stable archetype. It was just the right deck for the right situation. Like a lot of puzzles decks, it's like a surgical instrument that pierces through the current meta, and it's just like, y'all haven't thought of this combination. But it's not a cohesive, like, long-lasting archetype. And hey, Virtue. They said Angus. Who said Angus is fine? Angus is not fine. Like, Lionheart was like, no, it's fine. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like... No, maybe I misremember. No, Angus is not fine. Angus getting replayed is insanely... Like, I watched a game where Kaneki went down, like, 3 cards, like, in round 2, okay? This was not a round 1. He went down 3 cards in round 2 just to get his Angus replayed multiple times, and he almost won. He, like, lost the game against Enslave or something by single-digit points. Like, going down 3 cards to replay Angus over and over again with Heist, and then still almost winning the game, should not be a thing. Maybe when Golden Necker is 13 provisions, we can talk about 9P Compass. Thank you, Vastrias. Holy shit, yes. Like, but like, why punish every faction and eliminate an entire style of deck building just because there's one card in one faction that breaks the fucking game? Like, it's... How can you tell me Temple is bad and then in the same breath come and tell me that you think Compass should be 9 provisions? Are you serious? But he's right. Like, if you nerf Calvite, you can play without Calvite. It's fine. Like, it works fine without Calvite. Like, you can play... I've played lots of Enslaved decks without Calvite. NG has plenty of consistency in other ways. Compass hasn't... That's true, Valstrias. Like... Well, I wouldn't say it's an insane requirement, but it is... Like... It's so much easier, because Golden Necker thins 3 for you, right? So replacing 3 thinning when they already nerf Roach is annoying. But that's where I think some things like making Drummond Queensguard 4 provision will help. Making Roach 9 provisions again will help. Making Avalok and Land of 1,000 Fables 9 provisions will help. Right? Because that's also going to be a buff to non-Golden Necker decks. They'll also get provisions back. Then you can fit in like your Coral and Burna, which are already cheaper. Or you could put in a Snowdrop to hand fix. Or you could, you know, play Skulls and like... I don't know. I don't think that like... Getting a card that can get you a Legendary for 10 provisions should be so trivial as to not have a cost. Because you're getting a Fukusia. And they should have counterplay. So tough titties. Like... Not to mention, Compass itself can help you thin enough for Compass to work. If you want to take that risk. Like, yes, it was a lot more reliable and solid in a Golden Necker deck. But, so what? Like, it was too good. Flather going to be from playing Kami again, though, with Compass? Wait, your team can't? Flather back! My rainbow and my moon and stars have betrayed me. So, you're gonna listen to like Reddit and Lionheart over Truzky and Alcalora? And forget me. Y'all, you think you're gonna play your fun decks? You're just gonna be pirates up your ass every day, every time you queue. Like, of course you have a shit take. Full house. We can try it. We can. Oh yeah? Are you gonna organize the mob and get them to vote it back? We did already try it. We don't. It's like. I'm like, yo, don't run headfirst into this wall. And you're like, well, I just want to try it. And then if it hurts, then I won't do it again. I'm like, but you did it yesterday. I was here yesterday. We had Compass and I swear to God, I feel like people have forgotten. No, I have to do this. Compass. Oh, why am I pressing V? Magic Compass. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Game version 11.3. 9 provisions. Wow. Wow. From 11.3 until 11. Wait. Oh, they just changed the wording on it. Okay. From 10.4 until 11.5. So for like a year and a fucking half, or a year and 2 months, Compass was playable in Golden Necker. We tried it already. For 11 months, we suffered through this shit pile. First it was 8p, then it was 9p. Like, and we know how it goes. We know how this ends. Like, I mean, y'all want to con for 2 weeks. I'm all for it. Fine. But like, first of all, I don't trust you to like vote the other. Use one of your votes next cycle to fix the mess that you've made. And so I don't want to risk it to fuck up Masters. We're gonna have a well, the finals comes down between this guy playing Golden Necker Pirates and that guy. Well, he got red coin, so I guess he wins. Or that guy, his Golden Necker gave him COC and he had to kill his own unit, and opponent's Golden Necker didn't give him COC. Or he had to go first, so he didn't get to play Foul Blood. His opponent did, or his opponent played Combi. Like, that's not. Goddamn. If Compass gets buffed, I swear to God, I will run Mill 24/7 until this makes again. Alvimir, I disagree with you. I will not be running Mill. I will be running Clog. I have just the Sandor deck ready. I'll just be playing Coded Weapon, Viper Witcher, Toxicologist. Just, you are never going to see a legendary from Compass against me ever again. Okay? I will make it my life's mission to make sure no Compass against me gets a legendary. I don't care if I lose every game. I will make sure none of you can see the light of Combi in your stupid ass Golden Necker decks. You want to play Combi? You put that shit in your deck like a real man. I will stop playing the game. Unfortunately, I think that would be a lot of people. Cards that really shouldn't be nerfed. NG Soldiers, cards other than Marine and Slave Driver. If you want to nerf Soldiers, it's better to nerf Formation, which is difficult to get a leader. But Enslave already plays Marines. Not as good, is no longer oppressive in decks like Enslave is being replaced with Oxenford Scholar. But you want to nerf Scholar. What do you think is going to happen when you nerf Scholar? Truzky, I swear to God. Like, you're balancing for yesterday. How can you in the same breath say -1 power to Scholar and then be like, Sergeant's not a problem because, like, nobody's playing it in Enslave anyway. Do you know why you're not playing like Sergeant and Enslave? It's because you're trying to run Angleem and Brothans in the same deck. Why are you running Angleem? Because Care Troll. Why are you running Care Troll? Because it's like, why do you need to play Care Troll, Angleem against Care Troll? Because Care Troll is OP. And what are you suggesting we do to Care Troll? You're suggesting we nerf it. For good reason. Because it's too busted. There you go, Care Troll. So, when you nerf Care Troll and Sov and Svalblood, right? There's Care Troll, there's Sov, there's Foul Blood. What do you think is going to happen to Angleem? You won't need to run Angleem anymore. So you have 2 provisions. And when you're also nerfing in the same breath, Oxenford Scholars, where are they? Right here. Don't you think we're going to go back to Sergeant spam? Like, literally, the changes you're suggesting are going to guarantee that people will run. Like, what? You can't have it both ways. If we, like, we can do both. Marine is too good, Slave Driver is too good, and Sergeant is too good. Slave Driver and Sergeant can lose 1 power and be perfectly good. I'll still play them. Fuck. And Marine can just fuck off and die. Because the way to fix it can't be done with power provision, so I'd rather make it 6 speed. NG doesn't need this card. It was fine before. It's not like they don't have 16 other good choices at 5 provisions. Holy shit. Controversial buffs. Griffin Witch and Adept. I already explained why this is terrible. Tutor standing cards currently we see mainly Decree, Onir, and Calvi. Buffing other consistency brings much variety to the game, and I don't think any of the buff cards will be problematic. Buffs for Shield Maiden and Blue Stripes are buffs for other underplayed cards. That's fine. 10 to 9. Melusine, no. Although we may potentially be oppressive. Yes. Can't play for each build. If unanswered is the definition of a bad binary design. Serial Dash enables many greedy going like archetypes such as Blue Kelly Shield Wall, but what the hell's Blue Kelly? Oh, is that like the Cordy deck? He's calling it Blue Kelly? Is Immortal the Blue Kelly? But the card wasn't played in years, so I don't think she will be oppressive. I voted yes on this, but we'll see. Maddock can be potentially oppressive, but right now sees no play besides NG, which wouldn't play Golden Neck anyway because of Letho Ramon. I mean, he's not wrong. Those two cards are so busted with Maddock. But maybe if we nerf Sergeants, nobody will auto-include Ramon in every single fucking deck. Yeah, Full House. If only you could take a screenshot. SK Maddock literally exists. Yeah, but it's not Golden Necker because you're playing Letho, not Letho. You're playing Gwen and Geralt Professional and stuff, right? The approach when they play SR till the end of time. That's not it at all. Like Syndicate is a healthy counterbalance to a bunch of decks like that needs to be there. Plus, we just nerfed Syndicate like 6 different ways. And, like, it didn't have a very high win rate. This came out got a high MMR? I mean, it wasn't very common, no. I'm not super worried about this game. I think ST Maddock makes sense because of Milva. And they also have other cards like the Antlers dude and Making a Bomb and Crushing Trap and just Traps and Sabertooth Tiger and Guerrilla Tactics. Like, I think given Maddock goes to a random row, if you don't have a way to put Maddock on the correct row, he's just gonna be wasted so many times. He's too unreliable. So Formation and Guerrilla Tactics are the two because they can both move their own units and move the enemy units to get max value out of Maddock. And so, like, we might see Golden Necker ST Control played, but I don't necessarily have a problem with that because they're not going to have Eldain. So they'll have to have points some way. And yeah, they'll have some matchups. Will be like, okay, I'm slightly changing my mind on Maddock. It's also because, like, in Golden Necker, it could also be a thinner. You play a special, Maddock pops out, and you're done. Like, you could just run 2 Making a Bombs and still get value out of it. And you could combo like the damage from it with something else. Like for decks that can't run Heatwave, like sometimes comboing 2 cards together, like a Maddock and a one of those 3 damage elves or Dwarven Skirmisher can be like a good combo, you know? Controversial. Open Sesame. Very impactful nerf for Vice SY. I personally think it's the best way to nerf SY rather than nerfing KOB or Ekrontia. I mean, I don't think those two deserve a nerf anymore. And I think SY still deserves a nerf. You cannot do much if your opponents roll Sesame from the vendor and draws well. However, I want to point out that some pro players disagree with me on the matter. I think it will kill the card, and killing this card is not necessary. This is a tough one. Like, Sesame's interesting gameplay. Has play and counterplay. Has, like, adds to the skill cap of both people in the matchup. Or in the game. Like, you're not just bleeding out cards, you're also bleeding out his graveyard, right? And, like, you can keep track of it and you know, oh, he can't do this thing now because it will go to 0 and it will proc his Sesame. So why not play a bomb in every Golden Necker and get a Roach? You have that's a good point. Like, if Maddock is 9p, he's literally better than Roach. It's a roach that you can pull out with a bronze when you choose. And that roach can then damage something for 3. And then go to the graveyard and come back out if you play another bomb. Yeah, Maddock's way too good at 9p. What are we saying? Maddock can stay 10. Roach can go to 9. That was a dumb change. Was it a dumb change? I mean, Roach sees no play now. That should probably be 11, honestly. Medic 11 influence TV so much. No, I don't think Truzky takes a lot of cues from Lemon. Bombs are generally bad cards, so buff bombs. Like, why would you make Maddock cheaper? If the bombs are the problem, then fix the problem. And I know that it's because a lot of them are 4P. But like, okay, there's a lot of shitty 4P cards in the game. It's not like Maddock is some like Maddock is not guerrilla tactics, okay? Maddock is not like an entire part of the game that needs to be preserved. Like, it can just sit there with Vladimir and fucking like a million other dead neutral cards and never see play. Like, it's not ideal, but like, I hated Maddock the first time I played against him. I hate Maddock now when I run into him. He's anti-fun for the person playing against it. I'm not saying it's unfair or OP. He's not fun. But back to the topic. So, I guess I would love a Sesame nerf. I just don't want it to be changed to 6 provisions. And because it's a special, that's the only nerf we have available to us. But 6 provision is like too bad. And then not getting it from Shady Vendor, and the Shady Vendor only having like 4 choices, and it being the deck becoming unreliable. Like, I'd rather give it another 2 weeks. Then it's too early to nerf. Like, if you nerf Sesame now, the whole archetype will die and nobody will play it, and we'll never know like what the impact of the existing nerfs was. We can buff the 5P bombs. You can make Northern Wind and the Purify 1 4P. You could also buff Bomb Heaver. You could buff. Is there anything else that interacts with bombs in any way? You could buff Dragon's Dream. That's a. You can make this 9. Like, this is a card that could get. Yeah, there you go, Andy Dog. Sapper is good enough as it is. It's kind of like oppressive. And Nilfgaard mainly because it's a soldier. So I'd happily remove that soldier tag and make him 5P, but because it's not a problem in any other deck. Because you can answer with a 4, but in Nilfgaard they get armor, and a sergeant can give it armor, and battle prep can give it armor, and war council can give it armor, and leader can give it armor, and it's just so annoying. Oh, there you go. Dolbathana Bomber. Nope. No synergy. Bombardment, no synergy. I know just buffing this wouldn't be enough. And like, it's not like this coming out, this bringing Maddock out is gonna do you much. Like, it sucks. It sucks that we can't fix this. But they had like 16 years to make some of these bombs better. And they didn't, because Maddock is unfun to play against. And like, so binary. Oh, did you have Heatwave? No? Then I get an extra 30 points from my deck. Like, how is that good design? Some things should just die. Is there something from his list that I can steal for my power increase? Casino Bouncer. Sausage Maker. NL Conqueror. I already have Ruin. This is like, there's too many buffs to Syndicate Golden Necker. floating around for no reason. Aha! I got it. I found it, chat. I found what I want to give 1 power. Ta-da! Do not buff Dragon's Dream? Why? What meme or whatever annoying thing do you have in mind? Ulrich? Ulrich doesn't need power. Ulrich needs a way for this deck to draw the card that he wants to copy. Sorry, let me finish this. Renfrey, Golden Necker is still very popular in meta. Golden Necker will be even stronger as most provision buffs ideas earned from 10 to... Those are only yours! You're the one who keeps trying to... You and Lirio. Well, stop it. You're creating a problem and then you're, like, nerfing Golden Necker to solve the problem you created. Don't make 10 provision cards 9. They're 10 for a fucking reason. You want to buff Golden Necker? Buff 7s, 8s, buff Avalok, buff... Like, make Avalok and Land of 1,000 Fables 9p. Don't make 10p's 9p or, like, give 1 power to 9p cards. Like, most decks don't play 6, 7, 8s. Most non-Gold Necker decks, most non-GN decks don't play these cards because they're just not they don't have as much of a payoff. Like sees no play sees no play except from like Temple. sees no play like sees no play like sees no play. I mean, some of these don't deserve a buff, right? This could use a provision buff. Make this 7p. This could be 7p. This isn't more points than Axel, is it? I guess best case scenario with a full board, it's 13. Like, did you see any Golden Neck in the top 64? No, we didn't. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, Tekijin. I think it's just going to be like an automatic patch or something. Probably like something in the game, like when you log in, there'll be like a little announcement. Because they will give new opportunities. Like, did you see any Golden Necker? No, we didn't. But just because, like, a big part of why Golden Necker isn't around is because the last couple of card drops have specifically not added any power to Golden Necker, and the last few batches have taken power away from it. But like Torres and Svalbard and Care Trolled and Temple, like all those cards are non-Golden Necker cards. When the best cards are the newest cards, and all the newest cards were higher than 10 provisions, like Elves, and like, of course you're not going to see Golden Necker. But when you nerf those busted ass, like super strong OP cards, then we'll see more Golden Necker decks be viable. But right now they can't compete because some stuff is too strong. So you nerf some of the stuff that's too strong, you're really buffing everything else. You don't have to actually buff something to buff it. You could just nerf other stuff. Like, if you're a midget living in a town with a bunch of humans and you move to a town with a bunch of dwarfs, that's a buff to your height, relatively speaking. It's definitely a buff to your win rate. So here's his final changes. No. Dumb change. No. Dumb change. Whatever. But I think the more nuanced take is the screenshots, the ones where I rated each change individually. Canute to 6 power. Makes Canute better in Ursine Rituals deck? I don't think so. But worse in... Like, giving it 1 leader charge isn't that much of a buff. But worse in Palisade Control. After Totem Click, Canute is 4 power. Easy to answer. Okay, but they'll just run a thing that does 1 damage. it's not going to be hard to adapt to this. They're not going to have to click totem. Like, they'll just... Or they'll just play it at Ursine and not play Sove because you're nerfing Sove. The deck is still very good. And just as binary. Angus, Vanadane, Elves are not strong, so I think it's not a priority, but nerfing their power is much more impactful than nerfing Heist. Yes. Yes. Azar. I think nerfing Sesame is a higher priority, but Azar plus Candle interaction is low. So nerf Candle. Nerf Candle. Candle's the problem, not Azar. Make Candle 10 provisions and we don't have this problem. Because you won't be able to fit Candle and Golden Necker and all the other stuff you want to fit in the same deck. You're with Jackal buff because you... I explained why, like... this card itself doesn't deserve a buff. You want to buff something else in Syndicate? Go for it. I like Casino Bouncer's power buff. Personally. I think that's what I'm going to go with for my last slot. Either Magpie or Casino Bouncers. Somebody convinced me not to do the Magpie one. Mostly, and the reason I took it out was mostly because it's just really good in Tide Cloaks, and Tide Cloak is like not the one that needs support. Like right now, I want to do stuff that has a wide impact. With my first set of changes, I think I should tweet this. Vote today. What's a half root buff doing? Half root buff is a buff to every card in the game that says heal. So it's a buff to Heyme Flaminica, it's a buff to Joanna, it's a buff to Steris Fearless, it's a buff to this also, but buff to all of these, right? Which you don't see very often. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Well, that outside of like some specific cases you don't see much. In addition to that, it's a buff to the Alchemy leader. Because Alchemy heals stuff. Every time like you play an Alchemy card, it's an extra +2. And it would make it not so easily to remove. 5 removal versus 4 is a big deal. Right? And this becomes a 2-point a turn engine that doesn't go tall. And then it's also, in addition to everything I just said, it's also a buff to this guy right here. Also, this is a reward card that still sees no play. Bearmaster. And this could give like Alchemy and Beasts another control tool. Damage. Like instead of running stupid ass Ter Quan, you could run this for 4p. It's like a Skellige 4p Cyclops almost. Oh. Well, this is such a terribly designed card. Okay, well, you can still run Wolfpack. Like, you know, if you want to. It's unique. It would be unplayable at 0 provision. I mean, if you give it enough power... But it's unique beasts. Why is it unique beasts? Why does it have to be unique? Like, Was there an epidemic of people having 12 beasts on a road that needed to be stopped? On a card that plays for 0 points? Like, what the hell? It's not like Syndicate, like Skellige was like, oh, this is a faction about in which control is not part of the identity. Like, Skellige has lots of control. Where is it? This guy can exist. If this can reset a chance power, why can't... It'd be awkward enough for beats if it wasn't? Okay, so what? It would play for 2 points. Just some removal. Like, it's fine for a card to a 4P card to play for 2 points and removal. Again, like if this thing plays for 5 points and removal, where is it? All right, I'm gonna hold on. First of all, thank you so much to Truzky for putting all this together. I know it took a bunch of work. He put a bunch of thought into it. He put pictures so everybody can follow. Explanations are very helpful. If you don't know, Truzky's a teammate of mine and one of the best players in the world. And you should definitely follow him for more insight. Cheers.